The Survivor Specialists are back, and I am once again joined by Wes from Once Upon an Island, and we are talking about Winning Survivor, episode number 4, season 16 through 20. One of the more interesting groupings of 5 Micronesia through heroes versus villains. We're going to be talking about Parvati. We're going to be talking about Bob. We're going to be talking about JT. We're going to be talking about Natalie White, and we're going to be talking about Sandra 2.0. Wes, I feel, and I don't know how you feel, but I feel that this is like the era of under the radar winners. And yet most of these seasons are revered. And I think it's interesting that nowadays we see a lot of under the radar winners in the new era and the seasons aren't revered. So I'm curious how we'll get into that and what we'll think as we dive into these different winners and what it took to win with each of them. But Wes, welcome back. Glad to have you here as always.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, we're doing Parvati, Bob, JT, Natalie White, and Sandra. I guess you're right. Yeah, with the exception of JT, I mean, Parvati wasn't even the biggest character on her season by far.
No.
Huh. Yeah, you're right. I guess it is. It's like 4 under the radar winners, and JT was I feel like he was definitely.
Oh, yeah. JT is in your face. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. JT was definitely the biggest face of that season. But
yeah,
I'm excited. I mean, we might as well start off. We got Micronesia right out the bat, the last standard definition season.
It's so crazy that Micronesia, they couldn't get HD for, considering it was half returnees, half newbies. And they knew that they were going to HD with Survivor Gabon. And like, this is what's so crazy to think about, Wes. I know you and I are both in our 30s. And there's a lot of people who are listening to this podcast who maybe were born in 2000, 2005, and you don't remember the days of standard definition. Like, this was such a big deal in 2008 when that transition was going to happen. Like, I remember watching the next season on Survivor. We're going to one of our most beautiful locations ever, and it's going to be in HD, and they show it. And everybody's like, oh my God, thank God we all have HD TVs now. This is going to be so amazing. And now you look at that and you're like, what? That is crazy to think that 18 years ago, we weren't even watching things in HD. Now you can't watch anything in standard definition, but they couldn't get it for Micronesia, which is universally acclaimed as one of the best seasons. Obviously has some of the best characters ever, but it falls into that China thing. It's standard definition. How do you get people to watch it right away?
I wonder if, I remember at the time, this is something that is very much of the times when they would sell sunglasses as HD sunglasses, because that's how big of a deal HD was. What is HD sunglasses? But I think part of that, Phil, is because I know we talked about previously how Survivor's on the verge of cancellation after Cook Islands and Fiji, because they lost a lot of sponsors, a lot of negative press. And China and Micronesia saved the show. I wonder if 13 and 14 hadn't been such a bust for the show, if they would have moved to HD for the China Micronesia cycle instead. But because they're like, show's on the verge of cancellation, we're not putting more money into this. They didn't. So therefore China Micronesia just uses the stuff they were already using. I wonder if it would have been different had Fiji and Cook Islands been, better, for lack of other words. Because Fiji is also the last season where CBS did next morning interviews on their channel, on CBS. Sorry, duh. And so starting with China, they didn't do it because that's how bad 13-14 was. But then for 50, it took till 50 for them to do it again, to have next morning interviews on CBS. So it was a long gap.
That's interesting. And I wonder if that was it, or if it was just truly that they didn't have the technology yet. I know that sounds crazy to people, but like, this was a technology thing. Nowadays, you sit down, like I'm looking at an HD image on my phone right now. I'm looking at an HD image of myself right now. And you think like, how could this be difficult? This is a CBS. This was brand new. This was all new. This wasn't a thing really yet. And so I wonder if that was it, or if it truly was just like, hey, we got to go everything to HD now. Because I don't know if you remember, Wes, but back in my day, it's crazy that this was like 20 years ago, so we can talk about this now.
Oh my gosh.
You used to have your cable package, and your cable package would have a standard definition version of a channel.
Yes.
And it would have an HD version of a channel.
Same exact channel, yeah.
Yeah, and it would be the same exact channel, but one of them was HD and one of them was standard. If you didn't have HD, you watched the standard definition version. And I remember for early on with CBS, even with Gabon, if you didn't have the HD TV, if you didn't have the HD version of your cable package, you couldn't actually watch Gabon in HD. You were still watching it in standard definition, despite the fact that it was HD, because that's how the technology went. I know that this isn't talking about Parvati, but I feel like it's interesting as we get into that jump of what a weird time it truly was, and the fact that one of the most revered seasons in the history of the show, you're watching it old school every time you watch it.
Crank the saturation up, though. When you jump from China and Micronesia, they crank the saturation up in the colors for the colorist, whoever does coloring for the show. Now, Phil, before we move on to Parvati, real quick, I want to see if you know this. Which year and which season, though I don't know if you'll know the season, which year did The Amazing Race jump to HD? The only hint is it's after Survivor.
That I have no idea because I don't follow close enough with the Amazing Race, but I would guess 2011.
2011 is correct. Yes, their first season HD was 2011. So what's that? 3 years after Gabon. And then Big Brother. Same question.
God, did they go? I guess they went after Amazing Race.
It was after Survivor. I'll tell you that. That's
okay. So maybe they were earlier. Maybe they were like 2010,
2013.
Okay, so they were later. That's interesting.
13. The Big Brother took that long to get to HD, which I
was in college still, but I was almost done with college, and so again, that's where it's so crazy because it's been it's been a decade, but you don't realize like Survivor was still on the cutting edge of all of this. And so when you go and you look at China into Micronesia, two of my favorite seasons in a row, really, you can add Gabon to that. You can add Tocantins to that. I think the best 4-season stretch in the history of the show, without a question. You get standard definition. And so we have to watch Parvati and Sari dominate this game in standard definition. And Sari has to be talked about as we talk about Parvati as a winner, because so much of what takes place in this game is Sari. And I know that people don't like to hear that. I know the Parvati stands don't like to hear Parvati not get the credit. But I always say this is Sari's season. And Sari dominates this game. And Parvati and Amanda were willing to take her to the final 3 and sit next to her. And Sari would have cleaned up. Now, I know that there's the Monday morning quarterbacks who says that wouldn't have happened. All the Parvati stands tell me that wouldn't have happened. Parvati still would have beaten Sari. Sari is winning the season if she gets the final 3. They all respected her a lot. But this was also the first time that we ever saw half returning players, half newbies. We had seen captains back in Guatemala, but we'd never seen half returning players, half newbies. And so for the returning players, they had to figure out how to navigate this of kind of being treated as celebrities on their own show by people that they might either look down on or whatever. So where do you stand on this whole Parvati Micronesia game?
I think Parvati's Micronesia game is good. She clearly made the right social connection to go to final 2 because Amanda picked her over Sari. And I think this is Sari's best chance of winning the game out of all the seasons, because this is the one where she literally is one tribal from it. She very well could have beaten Amanda in that final immunity. Earlier in the season, Sari says, if there was a challenge about holding my hand still and I failed at that, then I would be a bad nurse or something. I'm paraphrasing. Yeah. And it's like, it doesn't, I know that the show put that in there because that's what was going to happen, but I don't know if a lot of viewers caught that because it's so early in the season when she says it about failing at a challenge like that. But like, that's exactly what happened. She fails at that exact challenge. It's like the challenge that Sari should have won. She loses to Amanda. Sari, I know it's a surprise final 3 because of all the medical evacuations, but Sari blew it here. It was not production. It wasn't some BS. It wasn't, like we're seeing game changers, it wasn't none of that nonsense. Like this, Sari lost this season. So Parvati wins, and I think Parvati earns it. She was definitely one of those biggest what the heck picks when you look back at her last season. Like she was gone because she was an attractive, flirty female and they needed to fill that role, I guess.
Last week that because we were trying to figure out who would it have been if not Parvati. It would have been Candace, from what everybody was saying. Candace was asked if Parvati replaced Candace because Candace wasn't available being in medical school.
So I will ask this, Phil. So this is all on the DVDs. This is where I get a lot of this information from. Jeff did a preseason interview for Micronesia, and there was one player he absolutely did not want to come back, but Mark Burnett strong-armed this player into being on the season. Like strong-arm meaning Jeff doesn't get a say. Who do you think that was?
Fair play.
Oh yeah, no, it was fair play. Jeff literally was like publicly on national television saying, "I don't know why we brought this guy back. I didn't want him back." but Mark Burnett wanted him back. And I'm like, it really tells you a lot about where Jeff was already here. I think future Jeff, he was already here.
Yeah.
About what
fair play. Jeff didn't understand that fair play was actually great for Survivor. And then he turns around and he loves Russell so much, but he didn't understand that fair play and Rupert being on the same season was a good thing. Now, granted, they were trying to go post All-Stars to kind of go with that grouping. Yeah. And then they said, no, we got to have fair play on there. I don't know who would have been on over
fair play. Wasn't on All-Stars. And I think everybody thought fair play should have been on All-Stars.
Exactly. I mean, it's the most iconic moment probably in the history of the show, or one of the most iconic, top 5 at least, when he lies about the grandma. So the thing with Parvati though is her story is so interesting to me. And this is how I feel about Tyson. It's how I feel about Jeremy Collins. It's how I feel about Sarah Lucina. When you come back and play a returning player season, your threat level and how you're perceived matters a lot. And I know early on in this season, we hear a lot of Penner saying, we need to get Parvati out of the game. She's the biggest threat.
Yeah.
And Parvati stands have really latched on to that and said, see, they were going to vote Parvati out first, and she still managed to get all the way to the end and win. That means it's a great game. That's the edit telling you that Jonathan Penner was threatened by Parvati because he already played with her once, and because Parvati and Penner did not work together. Like, they weren't aligned. So the way I know Parvati wasn't the biggest threat on that beach is because, okay, fair play like half quits. They get rid of fair play. But then they decide to vote out Yao Man over Parvati. Okay.
Well, Parvati was on the right side of the numbers, Phil. But that's where, when they lost fair play, he was potentially the number for Penner's side. I don't know where he would have landed. Yeah. But then with fair play gone, it became Parvati had the numbers on that tribe.
And that's what I'm saying, though. People will say she's the biggest threat. It's like, no, she had 4 other people who are willing to work with her pretty much from day one. Don't give me this nonsense of like, she is the biggest threat. But what's so compelling about Parvati's story on this season, in my opinion, is that she could have been Amber, right? She could have been the one where you said, how did she get on this season? And then she wins and we all kind of forget. And instead, she created what might be considered the most dangerous archetype in the show, which is the young, hot, flirty girl who can out-strategize you and manipulate you like crazy. And I think that that's so interesting because Amber didn't get that. And Amber normally gets ranked near the bottom of a lot of winner lists. Whereas here's Parvati, who's now revered as a Rushmore-type player. And it all started from her Micronesia game, not from her Cook Islands game. And I think it's fascinating that she went on that type of arc and had that much of an impact on the show when really she was an afterthought when the season started.
I think that Parvati, and we're going to talk about Sandra tonight as well on this podcast. I think it's interesting that the first 3 returnee seasons, I know that Guatemala had returnees. It wasn't really a returnee season. All of them are under the radar women winners. And
you can count Guatemala.
Danny wasn't a returnee, but good point. You're right. In terms of the seasons that were intended to be like, these are returnee seasons, under the radar women winners. And then it just persists throughout all the returnee seasons, under the radar winners, when it's like half returnees or more. And it's not women all the time, sorry, but under the radar winners. I don't know if I said that. Like, I know we're jumping ahead a little bit here, but like, what's the next one? Caramoan and Cochran was under the radar last season. He was not Cochran of South Pacific. After that, you got Tyson. I guess Tyson's probably, maybe he's not. He was just so low key in comparison to his other seasons. I don't know if he's under the radar. But then what? You got Cambodia. Jeremy was under the radar. Maybe not in the edit, but he was under the radar as a player. Sarah Lucina and Game Changers. Tony, Winners at War, was trying to be his best under the radar. That's probably the most over. That's probably the one that's most not under the radar was Tony on Winners of War. But then Aubrey and 50 under the radar. It's just like, and I think I like when I was predicting 50, I remember thinking has to be one of these under the radar people. It always is. Always is. It's never so. It's not going to be a Q. So like going into the season, of course, we don't know at this time when the season airs that that's the rule. So I think there's a lot more like, oh, I wonder who could win. When in reality, it's like you go back, it's like, all right, who came to the season under the radar? Amanda, Parvati. It wasn't going to be a Yao Man. It wasn't. Penner was definitely I don't know if he was like a household name, but he was definitely not under the radar as a person coming off his last season.
And that's why I'm even more impressed with Sari, though, because Sari, I think, had become like, everybody's like, oh my God, that's the player. And she goes all the way to the end anyway.
Sari was not under the radar. No, she was beloved after her first season. I do remember this.
Yeah. So yeah, I hear you on that. I mean, it is definitely something that we see kind of permeate through. And even like Tyson, people might be like, but he's like one of the most, like, his edit is very obvious. Yeah, but Tyson's not playing an over the top in your face game.
He
Tyson is
was so
playing a
low key.
very low key game.
Yeah.
And that's where in this season, like Parvati, Amanda, and Sari getting together, they were able to play kind of an in your face game, but they were doing it in an under the radar way because they were so unassuming. And so nobody was really looking at the three of them saying, oh my God, we got to get rid of these people. All those people who thought that were gone before the merge. And then Ozzy and James and Eric and Jason were willing to just go along for the ride, while Alexis and Natalie thought that they were all going to the end too. And so what I also think is compelling though, and like, this is not a knock on Parvati, but I think it's something that a lot of like the Parvati diehards refuse to see. Parvati is better because of Sari, and Sari is better because of Parvati.
Yes, no, they needed each other, and they needed Amanda.
They did.
They all needed each other. Yeah,
and it's almost
they needed Natalie Bolton, who did all the dirty work.
Yes, on the Eric moment, it was all Natalie Bolton who did the dirty work, and it was Sari's idea to have Eric give up the necklace. And so it's like, it's not a knock on you if people, if you're better with your alliance. But Parvati stands almost like take it that way. I feel like sometimes where they'll be like, you're not giving her enough credit. Parvati does play a great game. I think she's insanely overrated on this season by a lot of people. I think her heroes versus villains game is way more overrated, but we'll talk about that when we get to heroes villains in a couple of minutes. But I do think that when you say, no, the three of them are such an important trio, it's like, well, yeah, but Parvati like ran that. It's like, no, Sari kind of ran it, but everybody had their own role. And Parvati's the one who got the money at the end of the day. She's the one who got the win. And that's an
Parvati's best move this season then, Phil. Since it seems like you're ragging on her. I want to hear what's her best
So now
move
you're saying I'm ragging on her too. I'm just trying to
say
that.
A little bit you're ragging on her. Yeah. I think what do you where do you think she falls in the ranking, Phil, out of 50?
Oh, people probably put her in the top 5.
Yes. She's number 2. Where do you think Micronesia falls as a season?
4.
That's exactly right. You nailed that. You nailed that one. It was 4. Yeah. She's number 2 winner. And that, by the way, is not affected by the Australian Survivor season that she also won. She was already in the top 5 prior to her winning that as well. So it didn't it wasn't like she jumped up because of. Yeah. It really just people really like her winning this season. I think she's a big character. I think it's important people liking winners. Like if you're a boring character, people will knock winners for that. Character matters. The story matters. Parvati's character this season running an evil, quote unquote, women's alliance, the Black Widow Brigade. It just really resonates with people. I think people really enjoyed it, and it's fun to watch. And I cannot believe that winners still through 50, they're bringing up Eric giving up his immediate necklace to Natalie.
Always.
But yet somehow during the Winners at War press, it was like, Parvati, how did you pull off this move? Like that's just the narrative Survivors put out for years and years now. What's her best move though this season, Phil? What's her best move?
Honestly, so I'm looking at it here, and I think her best move is the Ozzy blindside. I think that's the best move in the game. That's when Sari and Parvati decide to go against Amanda, leave her out of the vote, and ultimately vote Ozzy out of the game. And I think Parvati and Sari kind of make that happen together. And again, it's like I'm ragging on her because it's like I feel like I'm speaking the truth about Parvati. Her game is in lockstep with Sari's the entire time. And Sari is the one who's coming up with most of those ideas. Now, great. Parvati's the one who's able to be taken to the end instead of Sari. Keep your threat level a little bit lower than the person sitting next to you. That's a good thing. But I think that's her best move. That's when Ozzy goes. And from that moment on, nobody really has a move that they can make that can go against Parvati. Like everything has to go. And then even to the point of Amanda telling Parvati, like, or I guess she doesn't. I guess she does tell Parvati, right? I have the idol. I think she does tell Parvati that.
As far as I remember, yes.
Alexis. I haven't seen it in a little while. But then, I mean, Parvati is the one who goes over to the island and just lays around because all they want to do is make sure that Eric doesn't have the idol and everything. Like, Parvati has a lot of good moves, but I think the best one is the Ozzy blindside where it's her, it's Sari, it's Natalie, it's Alexis, and it's Jason who take out Ozzy. I think that's the best move by far because it put her in the position where she was pretty much locked in the final 5 at that point, and she was closer to the fans than Amanda or Sari were. I
think it's really impressive to see Parvati's jump from Cook Islands this season. in terms of her social game got better, her understanding of the game got better. Like it was so clear her first time around she was a recruit. This time, at least it feels like she understands the show she's on enough to like have fun with it. Whereas last time she seemed like she was annoyed by the game. Of course, that wasn't just her. That was a lot of the original Raro outside of Penner. But yes, it seemed like Parvati made a big jump between seasons, and I think that a lot of people see that. And it's one of those things you appreciate. You're like, it's not the same exact Parvati from Cook Islands. It's an much improved Parvati. It's like she watched the show this time before she went on versus though that one challenge where they asked basic questions about past seasons. It didn't look like she had watched the show.
And Natalie Bolton is clearly not a fan of the show.
No.
What was it, Parvati who got one wrong about her own season or something like that? Somebody gets one wrong about their own season.
Yeah,
it's really funny.
I forget.
I think with Parv though, like when I watch Micronesia, her social game is the best part of her game. And
for
you
sure.
see that so much with how she handles the fans and the way that, like, on the latest rewatch I did of this season, it was really like the way that she handled Alexis and Natalie and even Eric to an extent. Like, that is what was so impressive about her. Now, ultimately, Eric votes the other way. But if you go down the line, the votes Parvati gets, she gets Natalie, Alexis, Jason, and then Eliza and Sari. Natalie, Alexis, and Jason are the three people that Amanda kind of took for granted, and she just simply didn't. And that's why Parvati wins. And so I feel like Parvati, and this is why I rag on her more than anything, is just because I think she's gotten overrated in the community. I still think she's a Rushmore player, but I just think it's gotten a little out of control. And I think there's a lot of like rewriting of history of like how dominant she was and how scared people were after Cook Islands. It's like nobody cared. But I will say that out of all of those kind of returning player winners, I think she probably had the hardest one to win because it was something that nobody had ever seen before and nobody really knew how to handle with the fans. Now, the other thing is, though, a lot of those fans had no clue what was going on. So that works in her favor, but she did have to kind of navigate this minefield of Penner and her didn't get along. So the person she has from her season isn't close with her. She has Ozzy, but her and Ozzy were against each other. Then she has Amanda and James, who were already linked together. Like, she's having to overcome a lot of previous relationships and kind of build her own. And she did a really good job. And I think that's why she does work better with the fans, because she had to do the work to build the relationships in a way Amanda and Sari did.
In China had started airing, but I think it was only like halfway through. But when what these players saw was only the first half of China before they filmed Micronesia, because it's back before they did back-to-back. Because I know you know that, Phil, but for the listeners, Parvati's perfect game. How far off was she from the statistical perfect game stat?
I know 3 on the end. I don't.
Yeah, because Amanda gets 3 votes and Final Tribal.
She only got 1 vote all season or something, right? Like, she didn't get a lot.
4 she actually got against herself, so it was 7 total. She's 7 votes off of a perfect game.
Okay.
The statistical perfect game, I know we talked about this previous weeks, is basically the only stat we have really to track the what a perfect game is. Since JT and Cochran play perfect games, which we're going to talk about JT tonight, Parvati's 7 votes off of that stat. I know not everybody considers that a stat to care about, but I think it has value. It's the only thing that we have that the edit can't manipulate. The story can't convey. The story can't change this. This is a stat that we can track. And so whether you value it or not, I do. I'm not saying it's the end all be all, but I think it's something that the story can't tell me anything different than like, this is true. This happened,
We're getting ready to do our winner rankings next Tuesday, and the first 50 through 41 will come out before we do our next podcast. And Will was like, I want to do an algorithm and I'm going to figure this out. And then like he put something in there and he's going to get into the details of this algorithm, which it might just prove that Will's not great at his algorithm. That's all. That's how I feel. But anyway, it's like he was talking about how he put in there, losing final tribal council votes worked against you. And my big knock against that is like, okay, if Todd plays on Nicaragua, he wins 10-0 against anybody he plays against. But playing on China, nobody's shutting out a jury on that season. Like, nobody was going without getting every jury vote on that season is what I'm saying. And so it's like you're almost punishing somebody for being able to beat the best players on their season, like Todd being punished for being able to beat Courtney and Amanda, Parvati being able to beat Amanda. Like, Amanda is a revered Survivor player. She was well liked. So it's like you're punishing Parvati for being able to beat Amanda, where it's like, okay, so you're going to reward her more if she had sat next to Alexis. But if she tries to work through the game with Alexis, she might not win. She still gets the votes here, and this is what gets her to the end because she's able to convince Amanda to take her. So that's where I always just find it a little crazy with how this whole thing works of trying to do the perfect game. But I get where you're coming from a measurement, but that's my knock on it.
I know I said this before too. It's like kind of comparing Super Bowl winners, like different seasons, different rules. Survivor changes their rules every season, not the basic rules, but a lot of the rules they change. And different players, different teams. It's just it's hard to compare. If everybody played against the same people and it was the same rules and all these people didn't know each other every time, like it's impossible to do because we're all human. So I saw one question on here, Phil, in the comments. I don't know if you can select it. Yeah, that's what I was looking at. Do you recognize Australia as a win, Phil? I know on the On Fire podcast, Jeff asked this question, a leading question. Jeremy Collins said, well, it counts as half a win because it was a shorter game and it's a different show. But people ripped Jeremy to shreds. And then Jeff's like, interesting. And leaves it at that. Doesn't comment on it. So Phil, how do you feel? Or do you want to do a Jeff?
I don't think it matters in the grand scheme of like ranking American Survivor players. Like, did she win a season of Survivor? She won a season of Australian Survivor. Yeah. She won a season of Australian Survivor that was 14 players, 8 women, 6 men, where she started on a tribe of 4 women, one of whom was like her best ally she's ever had.
And it was 16 days, if I recall.
It was 16 days. Like it was a mini. Like, I don't know. Is it still cool? Sure. But it's kind of like whenever they did the baseball season after COVID, where they played like 30 games. Who cares who wins the World Series that year? Like, I'm sorry. Like, will it still go down in history? Yeah, but I don't count any of the Australian Survivor winners. I don't really think about the Australian Survivor winners. And I've watched all the Australian Survivor seasons. Like, I don't start being like, oh my God, King George is a better player. He's not a winner. I know that. But it's like King George is a better player than XYZ from American. I separate the two. They're two very different games. And especially if you're talking about playing 39 days and actually having like a kind of fair cast. I mean, she was on there with Sari, who she's like best buddies with. They had Tony, who had no avenue where to go because he had nothing to do. And then they had Lisa, who her whole mission on that season was for Sari to win. Yeah, I mean, Parv was in a pretty good spot from the start. So, like, to me, that season means nothing, and I think that season's an unbelievable disappointment. Parv stans can say that she's a 2-time winner, but she's literally not. Like, she didn't win 2 seasons of U.S. Survivor, so she's not a 2-time Survivor winner. She's won 1 version of U.S. and she's won 1 version of Australia. Those are 2 different things. It's like if Peyton Manning went and played in the Arena Football League. I'm sure he could still throw for 10,000 yards in the Arena Football League. That doesn't mean he's now a 4-time Super or a 3-time champion. It doesn't matter.
I think I'm more in the camp with Jeremy Collins, who said it was half a win. If I had to count it, like if I had to, it's almost like transferring currency. If I had to transfer the currency of a 16-day Australian Survivor game to U.S. Survivor game, what would I give it? And I'd say, half a win sounds about right. Length, players, as you talked about, the imbalanced start of how they did everything. For the versus the world, I would say half a win, but even then I'm like, it's not 2-time win. It's a win on a different show. But if she had won Australian Survivor and it had been like their 50-day game, like the season that Sandra went on was Blood versus Water.
Yeah.
If she had won that season, I would be like, I completely get the argument for 2 wins. Like, that was a full season with a full cast. Sandra making it 16 days that season was actually impressive. Considering everything working against her. But Parvati winning the season she won, half a win if I had to transfer the currency, but it's not the same show.
It's not. And Marcus Ritz says Tony was on a season with Sarah, his best friend, and we're not mad at him. Yeah. That was a 20-person season, like a 39.
Oh, no, we're not counting people being friends with people against them.
Season.
I think,
So
your point
was also, he had 2 on a 10-person tribe. He had 2, not, my best friend on a 7-person tribe. Like, that's crazy to start.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to count any American Survivor season where people came in as friends. Like, Ozzy and Sari were friends at 50.
Yeah.
If one of them had won, I would have been like, well, they had their friend there.
Yeah.
Dude, it's different. It's just a different show. I think it's really the biggest thing about Australian Survivor. So, Parvati winning this season, though, almost loses to Amanda if you look at the stats.
Yeah. What's her worst move?
Her worst move, honestly, top of my head, I don't know. I don't remember her having any massive blunders, but the fact that Amanda got 3 votes at Final Tribal, I think people just remember Amanda as being this bad, like, Final Tribal person. And I watched both of her Final Tribals and I thought to myself, mid, okay, average. Like, I've seen bad Final Tribals. Amanda's just okay at Final Tribal. Bob, the whole Gabon Final 3 is bad.
Yeah.
All three, I mean, Susie's okay, I guess. But that's like only in comparison to the completely terrible other two, which I know we're going to talk about next. But like, when I think bad, I don't think Amanda. I think Amanda was conveyed to us as bad because, like, James making comments about her. And that's like, it's kind of stuck in our heads, but I don't know.
She
the fact
couldn't go
that
for
she
the
only
kill.
beat her 5-3. It's like, sure, one of those was Ozzy's vote, I guess, for Amanda, but you think Parvati won by more with how well of the game people remember her by. So her worst move is the fact that she didn't get more votes Final Tribal, I guess. I don't know if that's a move, but it's the most disappointing part of her game for me.
I mean, I think that when it came to Parv, like, I'm not going to sit here and say she played a flawless game, but once she got to the swap, she never went to a tribal. So there was no room for her to make a mistake there, right? Like, she was on a tribe where, they never went. Chet, Tracy, Amy are the people voted out, and Joel, and then Jonathan and Kathy are both taken out of the game. So then when you go and you look at what she does in the post-merge, everything she does works. Like, she gets back in with Amanda after voting out Ozzy. She's in with Amanda when Alexis gets voted out. I don't think she has a bad move. I don't think there is one. So I'm not really going to say, I don't know what her worst move is. I just don't think that her game is as impressive as people think it is. It's still a great game. It's just not like this all time. And like, this is the type of nuance I don't get. So D is worse than Natalie White is what you're saying, because D only played 26 days. If that's what you think I'm saying, like, good for you. If you can't figure out nuance, that's on you. That's not on me.
That's just trolling. Right. I really think that she should have got more votes in Final Tribal. I think it's where Parvati dropped the ball, because Natalie came in clearly going to give Parvati her vote based on what she said, and Ozzy came in giving Amanda, his vote. Like, there was no way I think of those votes swapping to the other person. I think Parvati got more.
Always voting Amanda.
Yeah, James is probably always voting Amanda, though he didn't vote. I don't remember him voting Amanda in China, but I guess that's a different scenario. Of course,
he's the Courtney vote in China, right?
Yeah, from what I recall.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, let's move on to the HD era.
Wow, and we start the HD era with a beautiful location and an absolutely beautiful winner, Bob Crowley.
Well, I actually do think it's a beautiful location. I don't know if you're being sarcastic there.
Oh, no, I love the location. I'm obviously being sarcastic about
it. Okay. I was like, Crowley. The location actually is epic, despite how terrible it was for production, apparently.
Here's the thing, man. Bob Crowley is, when we do our ranking next week, he's very near the bottom. This is how it goes, right? I'm not going to say if he's at the bottom. I'm not going to say if he's close. I'm just going to say he's near the bottom, okay?
Okay.
That's Bob Crowley's legacy. But here's the thing. We had seen a bunch of people in their 50s play Survivor, and they all lost. Every single one of them lost. And Bob Crowley won. And I know that he has maybe the easiest final three in the history of the show. Everybody wanted Sugar to die, and everybody thought Susie was a moron. But he still won the game, and he figured it out. And what's so funny to me is Bob and Gabler, the two older guys, they get lumped in as like these bad winners. Which, look, Bob is a bottom-tier winner. And this is where I'm coming to the defense of Bob, and I'm ragging on Parvati, and Parvati is infinitely better of a winner than Bob. But I just feel like people want to knock Bob. Bob can't play the same game as Parvati. He can't play the same game as anybody who came before him, because nobody like Bob ever won Survivor. And so that's the one positive I'm going to say for Bob here before we get into this discussion, because I think people just dismiss him and say terrible winner, but he knew how to get on the right side of a bunch of psychopaths, and it worked for him. Even with the worst winning final tribal council performance in the history of Survivor, he still gets the votes from people. It's crazy.
Yeah, Bob's, since we talk about this every time, worst move has got to be everything he says at Final Tribal. I remember him giving one good answer. I think at one point he's like, I don't know how I did anything, and I'm not going to say you should vote for me. It's like, Bob, what are you doing? At least give something, gives them nothing. So that right at the gate, that's his worst move. I want to say, though, that Jeff, this is the season that Jeff wanted to quit the show forever, was after they filmed this one. That's how bad it was for him. Yeah. And I remember Carson from 44 saying that when he was being cast for the show, they asked what his favorite season was. He said Gabon, and they looked at him like he was insane. Like, why would you like this season? Just for some context of Gabon in production, like we, the fans nowadays, love Gabon. In fact, Phil, it was ranked 12 last year, dropped to 18. It's about where it stands though, like about top 15-ish year to year. Bob is a winner though. People agree with you. Where do you think he ranks? He's
48.
48. He's 43.
Oh, he's higher than I would have thought. That's pretty good.
48 is going to be Erica from 41. I know we haven't got to her yet, but yes, Bob is number 43. Gotcha. About the spot he sits at every season. That hasn't changed much. So yeah, there's some winners people just don't respect as much. So he's not 48, but he's 43. He's pretty low. Yeah. Bob's best move is, what is Bob's best move? I feel like Bob makes a lot of moves. I just know his best one. Is it winning immunities? 3 of them?
His best move is making a fool of Randy. That is his best move because his
fake idol.
Yeah, the fake idol is the best move because when Bob does that, Bob is safe. Bob wins immunity. No, Kenny has immunity that time. So it's between Randy and Bob. And Bob plays immunity or plays the fake idol, gives the fake idol to Randy. Randy gets to look like an ass. Yep. That pisses Bob off a lot. And he goes back and he says all that stuff to Sugar. But that moment is why Sugar ultimately forces a fire at the end. And he's going to win that fire. He's going to beat anybody in fire because he was the outdoor woodsman. And so Bob, he wins 3 immunities down the stretch. That's what keeps him in the game. But there is also an argument to be made that Sugar was going to be working with Bob anyway, and that Maddie could have been swayed or that Susie could have been swayed. Like, that season is pure chaos. And for Bob, it really was I got to just make it one more day. I just got to make it one more day. I just got to make it one more day. He needed the immunities, but he was also 57 years old, winning a bunch of immunities against a bunch of kids. And it was the moment that did it for him was when he made a fool of Randy because that's what stuck with Sugar. And ultimately, he was still able to get Randy's vote at the end anyway.
But him making a fool of Randy, Sugar was laughing the whole time that happened. She was having a ball. That was like her favorite moment because Randy had been, the bane of her existence for so long. I don't think he beats Maddie. Not that I think that he thought that from what I remember on the show. I just remember him thinking I just need to make Final 3. Kind of like Susie, just want to make Final 3. This season, though, once Marcus goes, it was already kind of a dumpster fire, but it became a dumpster fire after Marcus goes in terms of just the chaos, the strategy. Like, things made sense, but only within Gabon logic a lot of times. Not Survivor logic, Gabon logic, like Survivor Gabon logic. So it's a really fun season. Just the Survivor Gabon of it all. And every time a mess of a season happens, like 46 is a mess in some people's eyes. Like, it's not Gabon. It's not, just nothing could be Gabon. No. It's its own thing. It has its own logic, its own everything. And do you ever hear, Phil, about the producer who I believe is a producer, somebody who worked on the crew who got in a relationship with, I want to say Kelly from this season?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And then he's like, I'm going to get fired. So he runs off in the forest for like 3 days and then comes back only because he ran out of booze. And it's like, that's Gabon. That's Gabon logic. This is true. You can look it up. This is a completely real thing. You can read the interview online. That's Gabon. And I love it. Bob, though, his fake idol has to be the best move. I know other people have made fake idols, but I think he set the standard for what a fake idol could be, where it's like Ozzy's was just a stick. I know that was the joke of Micronesia. It's just a stick. But Bob set the standard because you'll see it again. You'll see other people make beautiful idols. I know David on Millennials versus Gen X makes a beautiful idol, but it's but Bob's is remembered because that was the first beautiful fake idol. And
I feel like people don't give him nowadays the credit for that. That was so forward thinking to make one that good. And it was what'd you do? I was just taking things off of production stuff. I just took this off the shelter. I took this. I took some resin. I did whatever. Nobody was thinking about the game in that way. Remember, the regular idol at this point came around in season 14. So you're talking 14, 15, 16. This is the 4th season of regular idols. And what's so funny to me with Bob is, I know Bob is not a popular winner and I rank him low too from an actual gameplay standpoint. Bob was maybe the only winner with the exception of Ethan in the history of time who was my favorite in the first episode and ended up winning the season. He was the guy that's my initial rooting interest. This is super what I'm excited about. and it was all Bob. And so I was really pumped when Bob won. Now, do I understand that he's not in control of the game? Yeah, I get that. I understand that there's a lot going on in this season, that like Bob is pretty lucky that he's just there and he's just along for the ride. But at the same
Sugar
time,
sees him as a dad figure because he doesn't latch on to that when she says that to him. But he's like, oh, okay. And she's like pouring her heart out to this guy. And he's like, yeah, okay, cool. It's like how he responds.
And that's what, and you know what, though? That's what a lot of the older people didn't do, or they went so far that way, thinking Kentucky Joe all the way back in Australian Outback, where you go so far in that direction, you become not a threat to win the game. You become like a character more than like an actual competitor. And that's how Pascal was. That's how Kentucky Joe was. It's how a lot of these older people played. And so Bob had a cutthroat edge to him. We were talking about why can't Amanda beat Parvati? Her final tribals aren't terrible, but she can't go for the kill. Bob went for the kill a lot of times, and he was okay with it. It almost cost him because his final tribal stunk. But still, tell me all the people who've played over the age of 50, and you can tell me there's better players than Bob and there's better players than Gabler, but they won. They won, and that is a big deal.
Yeah, I don't know who the oldest winner was before Bob. I was trying to look back real quick, and I don't have the ages in front of me. I'm thinking it has to be like Earl or Brian. I don't know.
Tina. Tina was 42.
Oh, no, that makes sense. Yeah, Tina was in her 40s because I was like trying to think who was in their 30s, but you're right. Tina was in her 40s.
Tina and Hatch were both.
Tina born in 1960 and then wins in 2001. Yeah,
so she was 41. Yeah.
41, yeah. Yeah, you're right. So Bob, like 17 years older than Tina, and shows that it's possible, which I know is kind of like The Amazing Race. I love to bring up The Amazing Race. In case you haven't known
that.
The Amazing Race, for so many seasons, Phil, nobody thought a woman team, a girl team could win that show. And it took until season 17 for a girl team to finally win. It was always guy or guy girl, but never girl. So it's kind of like Bob, season 17, showing it's possible for an older person to win.
Yeah.
Season 17 Amazing Race, it showed that it was possible for a girl team to win. And it's happened again since then, but it broke that like barrier, like, oh, this is possible. This could happen, you know?
Yeah, no, and it's interesting that it like takes that long. And Tom Westman was also 41, so he was actually the second oldest behind Bob at the time.
Westman, how old is he? Sorry,
he was 41.
Yeah, but still, that's not 57.
It's crazy.
Older,
and again, like I keep going back to the point of when you say Bob's got no game, and I'm not saying you, but like people in general, Bob stinks, whatever. That's like the general feeling. The thing with Bob is, again, how many people over the age of 50 have played Survivor? How many of them actually?
There's at least one or two a season at this point, I feel like.
And how many have had the potential to win? Bob was the first to do it, and we don't see it again until Gabler does it 26 seasons later. Like Denise is the next oldest winner because she wins in season 25, and I think she was like 45 at the time. But we don't see it again until Gabler. That's crazy. That's crazy.
I see this comment. Oh, no, go do that comment first.
Let me do the super chat here from Ryan Chen. Did you hear about having a bone finale? They forgot to bring the voting urn and had to run back to fax the votes to Jeff. Gabon in a nutshell.
Yeah, I remember they were going to they were like, oh, shoot, we can't find them or something like that. We didn't give them time. So they were going to like trace them off of they're going to put parchment and trace how they looked or something off the footage. The other one, though, I wanted to bring up was this comment saying first perfect loser was the season with Sugar. So we talk about perfect winner every episode or every winner we talked about so far. Perfect loser is Sugar, meaning 0 votes all game against her, but then 0 votes for her in Final Tribal. We've only ever had that twice on Survivor.
That's
who the second one is, right, Phil?
Wait, hang on. So, it's Russell, right?
No, perfect loser means 0 votes against them all game, 0 votes at the end. It was not Russell. It's more of a recent loser, Phil.
Hang on, let me think. I got to actually think about this. Was it Joe?
It is Joe from 50, yes.
There you go.
He was close on 48, but he nailed it on 50. Unintentionally, but he did it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like Sugar and Joe are so opposite, like in the way that they actually were viewed on their season and stuff. Like people didn't vote for Sugar because they didn't like her. People didn't vote for Joe because they didn't think he was playing the game. And I think Sugar, that was also the hard part about this season is the show made it so much about Sugar. Yeah. This was all about Sugar. And so it is going to feel a little disappointing as viewers when Bob ends up winning because they put Sugar on the hero tribe. She's a 0 vote finalist on a season, and she's like cackling when Randy's getting burned and stuff. And it's like,
he's so petty.
Yeah, but clearly, like, Sugar's not a hero in Survivor Talk, but she was to the audience, and that's why she gets thrown on the hero tribe. I mean, really, Parvati's more of a hero than Sugar is. But anyway, I digress. I just wanted to say that, and I think that's why Bob was also viewed not as positively even at the time, because everybody was all in on the Sugar story, and casuals could not understand how Sugar didn't win the season.
How many votes was Bob off from a perfect game?
All right, I got to look.
No, don't look. You're supposed to
don't look. Don't look. Well, I know he didn't get 3 votes at Final Tribal. I know that. I want to say, because he didn't get votes towards the end, and I mean, maybe 1 vote he got all season.
So that you're saying 4.
Wait, he got 2. 5. He got 2 at the at Fire. So I would say 6 total.
Yep, it was 5. It was those 2 at Fire plus the 3 missed at Final Tribal. Yeah.
Oh, so he doesn't get a single vote before Fire.
No.
Interesting.
But people were not considering Bob as the big threat. There was always somebody else who was messier or a reason, whatever the reason was to get them out. Not Bob. Bob was just ignored. And he won 3 immunities, which helped people ignore voting for him. So
that's interesting.
I don't have a lot more for Bob and Gabon. Do you?
My only question I want to ask you is,
okay,
do you think Bob's win makes, sorry about the horn, do you think Bob's win makes Gabon a better season or a worse season?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think if Sugar won, it would have been more narratively satisfying, because I'm with the crowd that saw the season the first time through and thought, wow, why didn't Sugar win? I wish Sugar had won, but I'm okay with Bob winning. Like, had Susie won, it would have been narratively the most disappointing based on how the show portrayed the story. Of course, they might have shifted it had Susie or Sugar won. I don't know. I think it really, Bob winning is the perfect summary. I don't know if that's the right word. It's the perfect way to end Gabon. It's so Gabon for Bob to win. Like,
it is.
I'm glad. Had Crystal won, also would have been the perfect ending.
Kenny would have been great too, man.
Kenny would have been a solid winner. I'm just trying to think, like, who's the people it's like that person won? Well, it was Gabon. Like, Bob, Sugar, Crystal. Crystal would have been a great winner.
Maddie, and like a lot of people, I think Maddie's actually a great player, super underrated, but like Maddie winning isn't better for Gabon. It's too ending to the season. You need the sloppiness. The fact that it's a 4-3 vote, Bob versus Susie at the end, is impeccable storytelling.
Maddie winning wouldn't have made the season better. It might have been a little worse. I think Bob actually enhances it over Maddie. So
I agree.
Anyways, hey, next we go from perfect loser to perfect winner.
Perfect loser to perfect winner. Let's do it. All right. So we are up to JT, the first guy that everybody showed up on that whatever, because it was like a plateau. It wasn't even an island or a beach. They all showed up and said, it'd be cool if that guy won. What if we just all wanted that guy to win?
What if we just let him win? Yeah.
Guys, you know who's cool? JT is really cool. You guys got to meet this JT guy. He's just the best. Dude, JT's game is so crazy. He blinds everybody.
I can't believe there's like a whole episode. It felt like dedicated just like JT's the best. Why don't we just let JT win? Like, that was a whole episode this season. It was like episode 9 or 10. It was right before Brendan. I think I'm saying, is it Brendan or Brandon?
It was Brendan.
Yeah. And he was already rich off of his business he had sold, so he didn't care about the money. But it's like the episode where he's like, I want JT to win. And it's like, but you hear from other people like, oh, I love JT. Oh yeah, JT should win. It's like, what is going on? Are we in the Twilight Zone?
Everybody kept saying if it wasn't going to be them, they wanted to be JT. And I remember that Brendan's confessional is so epic, where he's like, if I can't do this, I want it to be JT. Like,
he didn't say that. He said, how can I get this guy to the end? He didn't say if I can't win. We literally just said, I want to get him to the end and make him win. It's like, what? I mean, top 10. I'm glad they cast. This is a great cast. Top to bottom. I don't think they missed this season at all. I know not everyone's a big character, but I don't think they missed. This season's cast is just good.
And it has some of the most underrated women to never play again. Sierra, Erin, and Taj all should have played Survivor.
I think Taj was asked like 10 times, but she keeps saying no. I think that's her deal.
And Erin ended up marrying like an NHL player or something, so she's out. But Erin was amazing. Erin was like one of my all-time favorites. Token Cheese is a phenomenal cast, and they went more old school here. They went with the 16 people, 2 tribes of 8, no swap. Final 2, just let it play out. Let's bring people back, because they were listening to the fans, and the fans were getting annoyed by the direction the show was going. Gabon production didn't like Gabon, even though a lot of people did like Gabon. Production didn't like Gabon. It was too chaotic. They wanted to go more simplistic. And what's funny is you go simplistic and you get one of the most old school winners in the history of the show. But what JT is so underrated for is social. When people talk about the best social players of all time, JT's so dominant on this season that he'll normally come up as physical or come up as strategic. JT's social game might be the best one we've ever seen on this season, because you don't just get people to want you to win the game. You have to convince them that that's a good idea. And the way he navigates every single person on this season, and for me, it's the way he handles Coach, because everybody knows Coach is a character, but JT is handling Coach as a character while also treating him with the vaguest amount of respect that Coach is buying into. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
He got that every person is different and you can't treat everybody the same.
I think, and also it's hard to ignore Stephen Fishback. They both needed each other. I think we've seen that in their subsequent seasons. Like, they balance each other out. I don't knock either of them. That's why I know earlier we had a commenter saying, because somebody's friends with somebody else, like, should we detract their win? That's not what we're saying at all. And this season is the first time I can think of where it's like a duo. I don't know. I know that Taj was an important part, but they ended up cutting Taj. They ended up cutting Taj.
They cut her at 4.
They cut her at 4. I know. I just didn't really feel like she was part of their alliance, but it wasn't like JT, Steven bromance. I think at one point they held hands in the finale. I forget. You know what I mean? Like, it was a bromance, and I love it. And they definitely need each other, because Steven without JT, Steven's not quite as, he doesn't do as well, but also doesn't, I don't know. Like, they clicked together, and it was definitely right timing and everything. JT without Steven, no one's holding him down. No. JT plays with house money every time he comes back. Like, he doesn't care. But this season it works. JT's just like the perfect person for this season. The location, I know it's not always beautiful, but I love that it was, I think it's the last time they did an inland location.
Nicaragua was kind of inland, wasn't it?
They're on the water, though.
They're on the water. They just can't use the water. That's right. They just can't use it.
No, because Fabio had to pee in the pool. Next time on our podcast. Fabio's best move, being in the pool. That's a joke, by the way. He had good moves. JT, so obviously he had a perfect game. Only talk about that. No votes against him all game. Does get 3 immunities. I think his, for me, is more impressive than Cochran's, because this is an all newbie cast. Like, nobody came in with any preconceived notions about each other. Whereas Cochran did have friends coming into the season, and that doesn't make his win any less. I'm just saying, if I had to pick, I'd pick JT's, because Cochran came in with Dawn. JT had Steven, but he didn't come in with Steven.
Yeah.
They weren't buddies before the season started.
I always give a little bit more credit to first time winners, like first time playing and then you win. I always give a little bit more credit there, because I do feel like that's the purest version of the game you can play. Right. And that doesn't mean I'm not putting Boston Rob at the bottom, but when Boston Rob comes back for his fourth time and plays against a bunch of people who have never played the game, especially a lot of them didn't know what they were doing, it's hard for me to really put it on the same playing field, but I'll still revere Kim a little bit more, because Kim is playing for the first time with a bunch of first timers. It's not her fault that they put a bunch of idiots on her season. Boston Rob's, it's kind of like, okay, they were trying to give him a layup
on their season on purpose for Boston.
Yeah, they kind of kept giving him the ball by the net and saying, come on, buddy, make the shot so you can get 1,000 points. And so the thing is with JT's, nobody knows who JT is. There's no aura around JT. He just comes out and he plays the game. And what's so crazy is he's down 6-3 after Joe gets medevaced from this game. And when Joe gets medevaced from this game, even before that, JT had such a handle on that tribe, getting rid of Sydney when Joe was like really fighting for it to be Taj. And so that is where that bond between Steven, Taj, and JT really solidified. And then it was, okay, how do we infiltrate Timbira? And so what's the first thing they do when they go to infiltrate Timbira? They go after Brendan. Brendan gets voted out in the split vote, and he has now made Tyson and Coach feel so good that his best move, undoubtedly, in my opinion, is when he votes Tyson out of the game at Final 8. It is just a masterful move.
Yeah, JT's social game is so good, but it also helped that he won immunities in terms of, like, sometimes you'll see somebody win, you're like, kind of feels like it was just their immunity wins. I know we'll get to Mike Holloway, and that'll be a lot of people's detractions for him. or is just their idols with Ben. But with JT, it's like he had everything. He won immunities. He had a great social game. I believe Parvati, by the way, I know we talked about her already. Didn't she win 3 immunities as well? Am I mistaken? Have we gotten a streak of winners who were just winning immunities? Or did Parvati, was that Heroes and Villains?
I think that was Heroes Villains. I'm looking right now. That was Heroes Villains. She only won 1 on that.
Oh, my bad. Yeah. I'm sometimes I get those 2 games just like I mix them together. I feel like a lot of people do. Yeah. So JT though, this season, I will never knock this season because of what JT does on his subsequent seasons. I don't try not to do any other winners, but like I try not to be like, oh, well, JT on Heroes Villains did this. You know what though? Like that's the same JT. I think he plays Heroes Villains. It's like what, 2 weeks after this season, something like that. Like it films after the season finishes airing, like right after the season finishes airing. He's on a high after playing the first ever perfect game. Going into Heroes Villains.
Also, his game in Heroes Villains is like excellent until he gives away convinced everybody to give away an idol to Russell who nobody had seen play and everybody thought was a normal villain. Like they all thought he was Boston Rob and Tyson and Coach. Like you have to remember, JT is coming into that season buddies with Tyson and Coach. Like,
buddies with the villains.
Yeah, just because they're villains doesn't mean JT doesn't like them. Whereas, so they all assumed Russell was like that. Like all these people got along. They didn't realize Russell was actually a sociopath.
Like a real villain, yeah.
And so that was the difference. So everybody knocks JT for that. And I always say JT doesn't make a bad move there at all because JT does that. And if Russell is actually a normal person, then Russell goes with them. It's 6-4 and JT's going to sit at final 3, probably with Colby and Rupert. Like that's crazy to think about. That's probably what's going to happen on that season. And then people will be like, oh, this, that, whatever. Russell is the first person voted off of Heroes versus Villains if people had watched Samoa, but they didn't watch Samoa, so they didn't know. He is the first person voted off of that season if they had watched Samoa. So I don't knock JT at all. And then even Game Changers, he's playing to win, not to get 12. So he doesn't play his idol.
Yes.
That's why.
JT makes stupid moves in subsequent seasons, but he's definitely not there to just sit on his hands and go to the end and hope to be the best of the 3. He's there to make moves and be flashy. And I'm surprised Survivor hasn't embraced him more. Like I'm surprised he wasn't brought back for Winners at War, for example, because the imbalance of New Era versus Old Era that season. JT should have been old. I mean, I guess they were brought back Hatch.
The problem for JT was that after he played on Game Changers, every winner after that was a man. And so I think that hurt him because they wanted to bring back as many of those guys as they could. Yeah. And so you bring back Ben, you bring back Nick, you bring back Wendell, and they don't even bring back Tommy and Chris, but everybody was a man after that. And then before they even bring back Adam, who's in 33, Jeremy's 31. There were too many men in that era. Had more women won. I actually think JT probably does play on.
Mike Holloway too. They didn't bring him back, which I think is a shame. But all right, so JT on this season though, just fantastic. Like social game constantly. You're right. He handles Coach super well. He handles everybody super well, and he reads through BS. Him and Steven read through the BS because I remember there was one scene where Coach and Debbie specifically were like gaslighting everybody into like Sierra said this, Sierra did this, Sierra's like, I did none of those things. I said no, that is not true. And if you watch the show, Sierra is correct. That is not true. They are making stuff up and gaslighting the ever-loving crap out of her, being like, yes, you did, Sierra. Yes, you did. And they're so passionate about it. But JT and Steven are like, yeah, I don't really believe this. Yeah. But it would be the best move to vote off Sierra anyways. You know, it's like they were able to separate emotions from gameplay and be able to read what was true and what wasn't. But they're like, it would please more people to vote off Sierra and help us, even if we don't believe them. We're voting her off, but not for the reasons they want. You know, not
exactly.
For the reasons they tell us.
Because then they're shocked when Debbie goes after that. Like they can't believe that would happen. And the Sierra thing is so funny because that is such unbelievable gaslighting from 2 older people who think they know everything. Yeah. Like Coach and Debbie are such assholes during that entire thing.
That whole episode after Tyson gets blindsided. That's what happened. That's why they were acting that way. They just gone off the rail. Tyson gets blindsided. They're like, oh no, we need to do everything we can to make Sierra look evil.
And I'm still 34, so I'm like getting a little bit older, guys, but like they start doing that thing that adults do when they know that they're wrong. And it's, well, you're young and stupid and immature, and they start using the age thing because they don't actually have a valid argument. So they have to bring in age.
Thing. I guess
They bring up how she's young and that's why she doesn't like know anything. And
Oh,
to
the
me,
age thing. I thought you said
yeah,
the
the
age
age.
thing. I'm like, what's the
No.
age thing?
No, age, where it's like, an
Yeah.
old person will be like, well, I'm smarter than you because I'm older than you. It's
Yeah.
like, you haven't lived it. No, Coach and Debbie absolutely lie their ever-loving faces off to Sierra. And Sierra is 100% correct. And their only argument is, well, she's young and dumb. No, and
you can't trust her because she's an idiot, as their argument. It's like, what? What?
And JT and Steven are just like, let them keep going. Timbira.
They see right through it. They see right through it, but they know that voting off Sierra would be strategically better because it's going to appease people, and that's going to help them move in the game. Oh, because Coach is super emotional, as we see in all of his subsequent seasons.
Yep.
Coach is super emotional. You have to run with his emotions if you want to appease him. Says a lot.
You know, it would have been a great move for
what?
You know what Timbira needed? Timbira needed an Aris to hold them all together, and they didn't have.
Oh, this is a good point. Yeah, I don't know if they're Kasaya levels of messy, but they needed glue, and they didn't have glue in their tribe.
They didn't have glue.
Tyson wasn't glue. Coach wasn't glue. Debbie wasn't glue. Who else in that tribe? Post-merge. I'm trying to think post-merge because obviously
Sierra, Aaron couldn't wait to get the hell out of there.
And Brendan was so busy trying to make Brendan wanted to get out Coach and make JT win. Brendan was not the glue of Timbira. Yeah, Timbira didn't have any glue. And I can't say I did like Jerry. I know he gets voted off third from their tribe. Candace, I don't really remember her much except that
Candace wasn't great.
I think Coach found her attractive. That's all I remember about Candace's story. I like Jerry. Jerry could have been the glue. I don't know. He didn't make it far enough. Also got to mention Carolina Eastwood's this season. So again, the casting of the season is excellent because without casting her, you wouldn't get David proposing to her at the reunion of Redemption Island.
Is there anything more uncomfortable in Survivor history than that moment?
And the fact that they don't even work out because David cheats on her with someone from One World. I think it was Alicia, but I don't want to I think it's Alicia. I don't for sure. It's just and it's not even like it worked out. It's not like it was awkward, but it worked out. No, it was awkward and it did not work out. So
that's so crazy. Yeah, that is like
with this season. It all starts with this one.
One of the most uncomfortable moments I've ever seen in the show's history. JT overall, do a lot of your people who will talk about winners, do they take into account too much of his second and third games rather than taking into account just his first?
Yeah, that's a good question. So they have him ranked 9th overall. So I can't say, I think that's actually not bad considering who he's below. I personally would put him, because I'm looking at how they have everybody ranked. So I can run, again, this is public. You can watch my videos, ranking every winner, ranking every season, 2026 editions on my channel on Once Upon an Island. But okay, so here's the top 9. So here's how we got to JT. You have Tony Vlachos, the Winners of War. Can't argue with that at 1. Yeah. We're going from 1. 2 is Parvati. We already talked about Parvati. I wouldn't have Parvati at 2, but I'd have her in my top 10 for sure. Tony of Cagayan's 3. Yule of Cook Islands is 4. And it's like, I get all these placements. Jeremy is 5 from Cambodia. Todd is 6 from China. Tyson is 7 from Blood vs. Water. Natalie Anderson is 8 from San Juan del Sur. And then you got JT. I personally would put JT, if I had to change these rankings, I'd probably put JT above Todd, below Jeremy. If I had to, and that's maybe even that, maybe he's 5, but I don't think I'd put him above Yule and Tony. I think I really like Yule's win and I like Tony's wins. I'd probably put JT top 5. And same with Cochran. I don't know. Cochran's not as fun to watch. And that is part of my rankings. Now, strictly numbers wise, JT's top 2 win. Strictly numbers, top 2 win. But personally, how I feel, JT is definitely top 10. I don't know if he's top 5. I would be a little debating, but I think 9's not an unfair ranking. He's actually moved up. Last year he was 12. And then this season, Phil, where do you think it falls?
8.
Dead on. Are you have my rankings pulled up, Phil?
Dude, I didn't even listen to your videos. Maybe I accidentally kept it on one night when I was asleep and I just processed it all.
Goodness, yeah, you got that one and you got Micronesia dead on. I don't know. Gabon, I think I just told you Gabon, I didn't have you guess on it. I should have had you guess. So JT number 9. I'd probably move him up a couple spots, but I'm not too hung up on 9. At the end of the day, when you have literally thousands and thousands and thousands of people voting, it's like, This is the consensus as of 2026. We'll see what happens next year. So
I will say it's gonna take the full 5 weeks before we talk about JT in our rankings.
Yeah,
so
he should be.
He's in our top 10. That's the only. I keep hitting this damn light today.
I want to say JT's final tribal, and I think this goes overlooked. I think it's a top. I don't know if it's top 5. I want to say it's a top 5 final tribal performance, because you think he would just walked in there and just like everybody fell over backwards from him. He goes in there and hammers Steven hard. Steven goes in with all the best intentions. JT's like, don't care. I'm going in there to ensure I'm going to win this game. JT goes in hard, attacking Steven. And then the one time Steven goes to attack JT's like, why are you attacking poor old me?
I know.
Me? Why would you do that, Steven? And it's like he's gaslighting everyone and be like, Steven's attacking me. Why would he do that? But it's like, what? You've been attacking Steven the whole final tribal, and Steven says that, but he had everyone falling over backwards for him. It didn't matter. Steven did not have a chance. And Steven talks about getting out JT, but by the time he can, JT wins immunities. It's too late.
Yeah.
Like, Steven's earliest opportunity to get out JT was, or his last opportunity was when they vote off Debbie.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't know JT was about to win 3 in a row. JT hadn't won any up to that point. You know, craziness. And Steven had won the one right before JT went on to win 3. So I can't even knock Steven too much, because that JT missed one of those 3 and Steven didn't do it. Like, Steven, you should have knocked him out. But what are you going to do when there's still Debbie, Coach, and Aaron left? You know?
I mean, and the thing is too, it's like you have to play with who your alliance is, right? So like Steven has to play with JT as long as he can. But though I agree with you, JT's final tribal of like, well, I'm happy I won immunity yesterday because I don't know if you would have taken me. And he really, really leans into that, understanding what that jury was taking seriously. Like, that's where JT's win too. It's like he's sitting next to a great Survivor player and beats them 7-0.
Yeah.
And that's what's also unbelievably impressive, because if JT or if Steven tries to get rid of JT too early, how does he get to final 2? He probably can't. So he had to do what he had to do. And it was the fact that he put the doubt in that he might have taken Aaron. And that was it. That jury was just like, well, screw you, dude. We're out on you.
It really helps when somebody wins against good competition. It's why I think it's partially why Bob's ranked so low and why Parvati's ranked so high. Is like Parvati won against some solid competition at the end. JT wins against solid competition, but Bob, I mean, we're not talking about a great final 3 there. No. And it's also, so I was working on Riz God's Survivor 49 video today. And as I'm rewatching, I'm like, Riz God's impressive, but at the same time, it's like the 49 cast kind of sucks. Like, as strategic players, not talking about them as people. Strategically, I'm like, they're like doing nothing to out this guy, to like try to flush his idol. They're just like, well, he has an idol. I guess we can't do anything. What do you mean you can't do anything? That's just like, it makes him less impressive because the people he's playing against are not that impressive. And so when JT wins against Steven, it's like, well, Steven is impressive, but then he just gets skunked.
Yeah.
Steven against somebody else wins. I don't know about this season specifically. Like, had JT gone, Steven beats Aaron. I think that's apparent.
Aaron versus Steven would have been close if Steven was the one who picked Aaron.
Oh, well, that's how that would have happened. I mean, or if Aaron had won and picked Steven, I'm not sure. I mean, I think Steven wins.
Steven picking Aaron would have pissed a lot of people off.
Yeah, because they would have felt JT was unfairly eliminated when they wanted him to win.
Yeah.
You couldn't give JT a chance at Final Tribals,
right? I mean, it is
probably right, Phil. That's probably what would have happened.
It's the most brainwashing that like ever happened on a season.
Oh,
it's
man,
incredible.
That's Tokenchine's logic for you. Gabon logic and then Tokenchine's logic.
Yeah.
Just the perfect season for JT to play on, and he played his hand perfectly. Like, there were bad moves. What is JT's worst move? I don't know. And it says a lot. Like, it's just that there wasn't any opportunity really for him to blow it. I guess they could have lost less people in the pre-merge, but I almost feel like that helps going into the merge because, well, let's get out these Timbira people. We're not worried about the Jalpal 3. Perfect.
Well, and what people forget, too, is because Jerry got sick, that is actually a big reason why they keep around Aaron. And that's why that alliance just isn't cohesive. It's because, like, they wanted Jerry. They didn't want Aaron.
Yeah.
And Jerry got sick, so they had to get rid of Jerry. And then that totally changed the complexion of Timbira, and they never were able to work together.
I like Jerry too. I know he's never gonna come back.
Yeah, he's never coming back.
Why? But I like Jerry. The 3 episodes I saw, I'm like, when I rewatched season, I'm like, man, I really like Jerry. Like, I wish he had stayed longer.
I think
nothing
Jerry's
against
great.
anybody else there, but
I think Jerry is amazing. It's just he couldn't hang out there. It killed him.
Yeah,
it really did.
I don't think I don't know. So, anyways, this season, great season, great winner. Definitely top 10 for both. If anybody says less, I'm like, what are you talking about? This is a top 10 season, top 10 winner. So just
the
fantastic.
lowest. So I will. This is a little peek behind the curtain. I'll give you the lowest ranking that JT has in. We did 4 lists. It was mine, Will's, Blake's, and then John and McKenna did one together. The lowest ranking was 8th.
Yeah. I think I agree with that. I just like.
But what's funny is if you were to ask me then to rank the best players of all time, JT would be lower for me.
Because then you're counting other seasons, right? Yeah. I mean, I can defend his heroes versus villains move, but I can't defend Game Changers. Like Game Changers was just like, what were you thinking? Heroes versus villains, I know what you were thinking, and I get it. It didn't work, but I get where you were coming from. But Game Changers, like, I don't know what you're thinking. I don't think you were thinking. That's why I think
he was thinking about getting to the end and holding the idol. He thought he could get one more.
Yeah.
He got duped.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, let's move on to a very controversial winner.
I don't even have anything
to say. For those,
I don't even have anything. Look, so I know that as we move away from Survivor Samoa, people don't understand what Russell was in season 19. Like, people do not understand how important he was to Survivor anymore. I really, like, if you're a new viewer, you can't understand how important he was. He was everything when this season aired. Jeff called him the closest thing to pure evil we've ever had on the show. And he ends up going all the way to Final 3. He changes the entire game of Survivor, right? He does all of this stuff, but his social game is awful. He is flat out mean to people throughout the entire season. So he loses.
Yeah.
But Natalie White is so hard for me to talk about because I can only talk about what I see. And I'm not going to sit here and act like she played some unbelievable social game when I watched her play 1 episode of social game. I'm not going to act like she was like this brilliant strategist when she wasn't. Like, she grabbed on, Russell says to Parvati in Heroes versus Villains, just grab my coattails and ride. And she says, I don't ride anybody's coattails. Natalie White just grabbed Russell's coattails and rode. And that was it. She just went along for the ride and she won the season. But that was the smartest thing to do on Survivor Samoa. So how can I really fault her for pulling off the strategy that was necessary to win this season? And what's funny is, Wes, and I don't know if you'll agree with this, she almost gets lumped in the same boat as Bob, where it's like, how many people like Natalie White would have won this season, have won a season? It's really her and Jenna Maraska. And Natalie White wins the season because she does what it takes on her season. We've seen so many players of this archetype who you can say are better players, but they lose. So I'm curious your thoughts on Natalie, because I always rank her unbelievably low because I didn't see her.
So I will say this is something I see commented a lot. So when I made her winner video, I did it. People were like, release the Natalie edit of Samoa. And so I took every little thing I could off the DVDs, off the internet, whatever, of Natalie White, because they cut so much, Phil. They're straight secret scenes just about Natalie. I took everything I could where anybody talks about Natalie and just put it in that video. It's an hour-long video. And it's not like it's the director's cut, you know. It's my version of the director's cut, because like they clearly had so much more, but they just chose not to include it. Now there are scenes that are still focused on Russell because it's a very Russell focused episode. I think when you watch the first time through, you're like, narratively, not Russell should have won. Narratively, that's how it feels. But then you go back and you think, and if you watch Survivor enough or you understand the show or understand the game, because the show, Russell should have won. The game, I get why Natalie won. I think what Natalie did, and it's very succinct to say, Natalie made friends, Russell made enemies. And that's it. Natalie strategically, you're right. There was one episode where she was very crucial, was that merge episode, if I recall, where she was very crucial to what happened. I think she flipped Laura. I forgot exactly what happened. That whole tribe, what a disaster. They didn't have the glue because Russell Swan left. That
Once
was the
he got medevac, that tribe couldn't hang because the women were so cliquey and the men and women just didn't get along. And that was the episode where she's able to convince them to vote out Eric.
Yes.
And that is Eric goes out 10-2 because she
Mhm.
convinces everybody to go that way and essentially brainwashes the women. The one thing I will say though is Natalie definitely makes friends and Russell definitely makes enemies.
Yes.
The Laura Moret, Monica Padilla, right? And I'm trying to think here, like Danger Dave, maybe a little bit less Danger Dave, but like Laura and Monica are two of the most bitter jurors in the history of Survivor. Like Laura is so unbelievably bitter on this season. And what I find so fascinating about it, and the reason I'm calling it out is because Laura is so mean to Shambo the whole season. And her and Monica and Kelly are just so unnecessarily nasty to Kelly. And if Laura had done what Russell did, she would have wanted the respect for it at the end, and she would have thought she deserved it. But she did not have the backbone at that time, which it seems like in Blood versus Water, she was different. But she didn't have the backbone at that time to turn around and give it to somebody else who deserved it. She could have easily convinced Kelly and Monica to both vote her way and give Russell the win. But she was so bitter that she got outplayed because she thought she was the smartest person in the room, and she wasn't.
Laura in the Ponderosa videos of Blood versus Water is there to not be bitter and to, I think, smooth things out, because I forget exactly who was upset with her. RSV, I think it was Vetus. Vetus was upset with her.
Yeah.
Because she helped Tina, remember, beat Vetus in Blood versus Water. So she works that out. So like Laura on Blood versus Water, it probably helps having her daughter there. She's older, wiser, like less salty. But she's less salty that season. But this season she's a bit more salty. But running through the jurors, like, okay, we heard Eric explain that, you know, how he's like, why do we value Russell's game more than your game, Natalie? Like, what determines that? What's the rule for that? And so therefore I think you deserve the wins. Like, it's very clear why Eric voted for her. She makes friends with Laura. Like, Russell is at odds with Laura the entire time. They're never with each other. First time they meet, Russell does his little, you know, where he's like trying to get good and get people to be like, yeah, you're in my final three. You're in my final three. He does that this season and next season. You're in my final three to people he has no intention of taking a final three. Laura and him are at odds, but Natalie makes friends with Laura. Natalie makes friends with Brett specifically. It's three people that like guaranteed, like they're not voting for Russell out the gate. I don't remember. I swear in her video, I was like very much like every single juror. I'm like, why did they vote for her? We know that Fincher votes for Russell and Shambo votes for Natalie. I'm sorry, Shambo votes for Russell. It's just 2 Russell votes. Everyone else, with the exception of Dave Ball, there's evidence in the show or in the Ponderosa videos or whatever of why they vote for Natalie. Dave Ball's the only one. There's like, I couldn't find a thing. The closest thing I found, Phil, was when they went on a reward where they had like their old, like the cell phones. Remember they used to promote those and like take pictures and like low res photos, but it was cool at the time, I guess. Like a photo of her and Dave, and like there wasn't Russell in the photo. I'm like, this is the only evidence I have of her and Dave having a connection at all, you know. That's it. But everyone else I was able to find, like, why do they not vote for Russell? Why do they vote for Natalie? So like, if you're looking for that, that's all in that video. I don't want to like too promotional on myself, but this is the one video where it's like I felt like I put extra effort into, because I feel like I had to, because like, why did Natalie win? The show isn't interested in telling you that. No. You're interested in Russell's story.
So. Well, because also Russell is what the show wanted the show to be. Like, Russell is where the direction it wanted to go, with idols and gameplay and strategy and being your face and honestly being entertaining. Natalie White's not very entertaining. Russell is. Like, that's a fact.
Yeah. Russell just made enemies of people out as they were walking out the door. And the fact that they buried in this show, in the recap episode, Russell revealing he's a millionaire, and then they treated it like you should know this on the normal show.
Yeah.
But they've never done that with a recap episode where they hid something that was actually crucial to the season. Usually the recap stuff's just like, here's superfluous scenes that we didn't include that are just like fun extra bonus stuff. No, this is like a crucial scene, and they put it in the recap episode. Like they didn't have time in the proper show for the 100 millionth Russell, confessional, whatever. Like, Russell reveals he's a millionaire. That's an important thing for people to know. They cared. This was, as you know, Phil, because you're old enough, this is during the housing crisis, the whole economic downturn. Because I know it gets referenced more in Nicaragua specifically. But this season it had to be on people's minds because it was when that happened. This is filmed when?
2008.
2009. 2009. So the whole crash and everything had just happened at the end of 08, if I recall.
Yeah.
Early 09. You know,
08 was the bad part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it started recovering in 09, but it had to be on everyone's minds. You're a millionaire. What do you need? What do you need? Any of this? What do you need, Russell? You don't need the money. Screw you, Russell. And Mick, you're a doctor.
Yeah.
Mick, like, I have medical bills. Yeah, screw you too, Mick.
You're going to be able to pay those off. Yeah, it's so interesting to me, though, because like you said, where do we see why the people want to vote for Natalie? And Eric gives a good example. And I understand what you're saying about like Natalie becoming more friendly with these people. But I do think that like you hear so many confessionals throughout Samoa of people saying like, you got to play the game. You got to be strategic. You got to do this. You got to do that. And those are the same people who don't want to hear it from Russell. And like, I know we have this comment here from Ryan Chan. Kelly, apparently Russell made fun of her as she was getting voted out. She was crying a ton in her Ponderosa video. They were also being ridiculous to Russell at that moment because they still thought they had it in the bag. They were rubbing it. They were rubbing it in
my gosh,
all of their faces. Like Galoo really thought that they still had it. And so like they don't like Russell, but they didn't like that they got. Like to me, a lot of Galoo was sore losers. And like I feel like this is the one time a jury got it wrong. And I know that if you don't like somebody, you're not going to give them $1 million. And like you said, he's already a millionaire, which, you know, maybe they knew, maybe they didn't. But I feel like Russell thought he had it in the bag at Final Tribal and didn't realize how the jury was perceiving him, which is his big fatal flaw. So he can't win an immunity challenge. Russell doesn't understand how people perceive him. But I do feel like this is the one jury where I'm like, you can follow the story throughout the season and hear the things they're saying and then see how they throw that all out when it comes time to vote, because they really were just like mad. Like if I went out and said, I don't care if you're the meanest person in the world, if you play the best strategic game, I'm voting for you to win. And then you're super mean to me, but you outfox me and I don't vote for you, I'm a liar. Like I'm a sore loser then because I said I was going to do it and I did.
I think Russell just misread who he should take to the end. He thought Natalie was just a dumb blonde. So he said about them all at the beginning. And he ends up cutting the other. And I'm saying this, that's him saying dumb blonde, not me. I don't think they're dumb blondes. He's like all these dumb blondes or dumb women. And like he loses them in back-to-back seasons, which is just ironic. But yeah, so he brings Natalie to the end. He really should have brought Shambo to the end. Shambo was not going to win. Laura, you said Laura was salty and bitter. Laura was not just at odds with Russell, it was also with Shambo. So the fact that Natalie, like you see her befriending Laura on the show is like part of Natalie's social game. Natalie was friendly with people. Like at worst, people were neutral on Natalie. Nobody was like, I flipping hate Natalie and I can't believe she's with Russell. Nobody ever says anything like that because they don't think that, because there's so much focus on Russell and the chaos he's causing. Natalie's just nice. When you're around Natalie, you don't feel like this tension. And I imagine that while Russell's behind the scenes in confessionals talking trash about people, that's not just something. He's not an actor. He's not just saying that confessional. Even if he's not saying to their face, they're feeling what Russell thinks about them. Because we have seen time and time again, follow-up seasons, Russell outside the show, Australian Survivor. Russell is Russell. He acts the same way, for better or worse, and he's not just saying things in confessional. It's how he's treating people. He treats people like they're dumb, and people can sense that. Yeah. And so this is the season where he gets away with it the most. But like next season, when he's like tells Rupert to his face, like, Rupert, you're dumb. You think you're God's gift or whatever. And it's like, finally, Russell's saying out loud the thing that he says in confessional all the time. Yeah. That people always sense that he's thinking of, you know. So it's like, that's what I mean. Like the narrative is pushing a thing. They know where this is going. It's also why I think 49, to go back to Rizga and Savannah, I think that maybe they did their best at propping up the opponents to those two, but it really made us feel like Rizzo and Savannah ran circles around everybody. I think partially for 50, despite the fact that Savannah doesn't really make it far in 50, but also that could have just been how that season went. I feel like that season was told more fairly than Samoa, where there's definitely a clear narrative being told. But anyways, I think you're harder on Natalie, but I also get like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, Natalie's a top 20 winner. I don't think that. But I do think Natalie is knocked on for a lot of things where it's like, yeah, she had Russell and she let Russell stay in the game. She didn't try to blindside him, you know?
Yeah.
She could have been like, I don't like Russell either. Let's get him out. And that would have tanked her game had she done that. Russell was crucial to her game.
And I think you bring up a great point of like, she knows that she can beat Russell. Like she feels like she can at least because Russell is mean to people and she's able to put up with Russell. But if Russell sits at the end with Shambo and Mick, he wins. If he sits at the end with Mick and if he sits at the end with Mick and Jason, he wins. Like he beats Jason. And every time I watch that final 6 vote, I'm like, this moron. Yes. Why are you getting rid of Shambo? Like Shambo's
an easy win.
She's a 0 vote finalist. Mick is a 0 vote finalist. Russell might actually win 9-0. Seriously.
I don't know about 9-0, but Russell, he probably pulls a Natalie, gets 7-2-0. I don't know. Because I don't know who Natalie votes for. Like, does she respect Russell? You know what I mean?
Like, a hell of a lot more than Mick, probably.
I don't know. Because the show would have been told differently had Russell. I mean, maybe it would have been told differently had Russell won. Maybe been the exact same, honestly. Where do you think Natalie falls as a winner in the rankings?
I would say like 45.
That was very close. Jenna Maraska's 45, who we talked about previously. So Natalie's 44.
Oh, okay. There you go.
She's right below Bob, right above Jenna. Bob's 43.
That's fair. Like bottom 10, there's like 5 or 6 winners that I feel like need to be in the bottom 10. And then the rest of the bottom 10 comes down to preference. But like Natalie, Bob, Underwood, those are bottom 10 winners.
Heidick's number 50. We talked about him, but 49 through 46 we haven't even talked about yet. But yes, Underwood is bottom 5 just because he got voted off.
I will tell everybody now, Heidick is not number 50 on our list.
Where do you think Samoa falls as a season?
30.
Oh wow, you're lower than I thought you were going to go. Well, let me double check though. I thought I had it. Oh no, Phil, you are one off. Maybe you did watch the video and it's in your brain.
I really didn't.
31. I know you didn't. 31 is where it gets ranked. Last year was 29. It's about where it seems to be. I will argue, like Vanuatu, I think Samoa is underrated as a season. I think it tells a very clear narrative that's easy to follow and fun to follow, and I think that's super important. I personally think it's I want to say top 5, top 10 season for me, Samoa, for sure. It's the narrative is so easy to follow. The collapse of Galoo. I love the pre-merge. I really like Russell Swan. I think he's I don't think he's a great player, but I really like him as a character this season. Russell Swan's
amazing. He's amazing on Philippines.
Clearly the glue of Galoo. And had he stayed, I don't know if they collapse post-merge, but because he's gone, they collapse. I think Natalie's win, while the show isn't interested in telling it, I think it's like, this is what Survivor's about. Get to the end and have people vote for you. Yeah. All the flash of Russell means nothing because idols and advantages don't vote for winners. Friends do. Natalie has friends. Russell doesn't. So I think, though, if this was your first season, though, like, it feels like a season that's going to ruin you because there's not a lot of seasons that play out like this one. Like, you're going to look for this high again, and it's just not going to hit if you like this season.
What's funny is 15 to 20 is the best stretch in Survivor history.
Yes.
19 on a first watching it live. We had never seen anything like this. It was, what is Russell going to do again next week? But on rewatches, it doesn't hit for me anymore. It's almost like it's like Star Wars at this point. And sorry for the Star Wars fans, but it's like that's really cool for 1977. But now we've seen like better versions of Star Wars. Like we've seen more exciting technology. We've seen these different things. And that's kind of what I feel like with Samoa. It's amazing for when it came out. And watching that live was absolutely incredible. But we've seen crazier stuff with idols. We see it in the next season when Parvati plays 2 at the tribal. Like we've now seen this version. And yes, this started it, but the characters are so pushed to the background to force Russell down our throat. I am huge on a good balanced cast, and Samoa drops for me. But I do understand when people rank it in their top 10, I don't argue it at all because I totally understand it. Yeah. First watch, this was insane.
It's a clear narrative. Which we don't get very often, where it's like a clear narrative from start to finish. Here's the story. It's not like I feel like a lot of the New Era seasons, just for a recent example, where it feels like the story's kind of segmented. Like, here's this part of the story. Aubrey versus Genevieve, for example, is not a season-long story. It's a part of a story. Mm-hmm. But I feel like the Russell versus the world is a clear narrative the entire season, and he's there the whole season, so it makes it the entire season story. And I think it makes for an interesting narrative the whole way through. And that is why Samoa is so high for me. Same with Worlds Apart, by the way, because of Mike Holloway, like clear narrative. There's a turn, the massive turn at the auction. I know we're talking about him later, but It's just the clear narratives to me hit harder when it comes to ranking seasons, not ranking winners.
That's why I love Vanuatu.
Phil, you mentioned Star Wars. I want to briefly say this. Hopefully, this is this is a prediction. I'm sure other people predicted this, but I don't follow a lot of Star Wars content. I do enjoy the movies. Next year is the 50th anniversary, and strong rumors that they've rescanned the original film, not the George Lucas special effects added one, the original film in 4K. And I'm betting they do a re-release of it in theaters in May of 2027 for the 50th anniversary. 100%. It's going to be a big hit if they do it. The original cut. So I haven't even bought, I own the Blu-ray set that George Lucas put out before he sold it to Disney. But if they put out the original 4K of that movie, I'm getting it. The original. I haven't watched that since VHS.
I'm a big proponent of once you make art, especially with movies and stuff, is you've put that out there. Don't be changing what it was in 1977 to what it is now. And Disney has a big issue with that. And Star Wars really kind of started that whole trend. And I hate that. The whole who shot first thing. Nope. You made the movie. The movie's done. Don't keep going back and changing things. That's BS to me.
I'm okay with if they change it, but there was both versions available. Here's my preferred version, but the original.
You go on Disney Plus, you can't watch this stuff anymore.
Yeah, no, that's not them. That's George. I think George Lucas made that because I feel like Disney likes money and they don't have an emotional attachment. You know what I mean? They just want the money. So I'm surprised it's taking this long for them to get I don't know if it was in the contract or what, but anyways, not to get too far off track here. I'm just predicting May 2027 is when we see the 4K original Star Wars shown in theaters.
There you go.
And then they'll put it on streaming and disc or whatever. But there's too much money to be left on the table to not put it in the theater, I feel like.
So real quick then, best move. Yeah, now that we get back on.
Oh yeah, dude. Best move, worst move.
Best move for Natalie is definitely the Eric blindside.
Yes,
right?
It has to be there. I mean, you could argue the move of basically, as you said, grabbing onto Russell's coattails, letting him be the bull, and her making friends as the bulls running through the China shop. But I think as an individual move, definitely Eric's vote off. Worst move for Natalie?
She's not active enough to have a bad move. That's the problem. She almost goes home at final 10, but she doesn't go home because Russell's able to convince Fincher to flip. That's all Russell. So you could argue putting her not doing anything to try to save herself is her worst move.
Because she gets 10 total votes off from a perfect game, but I think all 8 of those before final tribal votes were at that one tribal.
They were. It was 5 and then 3, I think.
Yeah, on the revote, but she wasn't going. She got 8 votes, but she wasn't going. It did not feel like she was going.
No.
Yeah.
So it's she doesn't have necessarily a bad move, but it's just because she's not in control of the game. She's not doing anything. She doesn't make moves.
Her moves are she's just, as Russell's doing complete crazy gameplay nonsense, she's just behind him making friends with people. She's just making friends with people. She's
waving like Forrest Gump, and I just think about the boat where he's waving whoever. That's what it's like with her. Hi guys, I'm here.
Or when Forrest just appears in all the massive historical events, he's just there.
Yeah,
he's just there. Yeah,
she's just there. She's
kind of as Russell's doing all these things, Allie's just there making friends in the background. So I can't think of a definitive worst move at all. I mean,
her worst move is just not being that interesting because
she doesn't have a bad final tribal either. It's not like she goes final tribal and bombs and they still give it to her the bone. No, she has a decent final tribal. It helps that Russell thought he was going to win. He's like, "Girl, I'll put you on the jury before final tribal." What are you talking about, Russell? What are you talking about?
Yeah, Russell got a little too drunk before that tribal.
He was definitely consuming something, and he had
the mimosas.
Not out of character for Russell, as we know. So
let's move on to
let's still talk about Russell.
I know, right? Let's move on to Sandra 2.0. Wes, where do you stand on Sandra 2.0? I'll let you go first this time. I feel like I've been jumping in first on all these.
That's okay. Sandra 1.0, I think as a game is more impressive, but again, I think it's because the narrative that they showed us was more Sandra focused the first time around. Second time around, they weren't interested in her story until the post-merge game. Pre-merge, they were not interested in Sandra. They had no interest in showing Sandra. I think the only thing I really remember of pre-merge Sandra, besides her, "This time I'm meaner," quote, and also when she trips on the sand with Courtney. That's all the pre-merge stuff I remember of Sandra. And
Dude,
of course,
her
Russell right in
and
front of her.
Boston Rob sitting there and egging Coach on to climb the tree.
Oh, yeah. Okay. But I mean, like, I'm just trying to think of gameplay stuff, and it's like, I can't think of anything gameplay pre-merge with Sandra. It's all post-merge. And she does play her hand fantastic in the post-merge, as we see with the entire hero tribe being like, well, we should have listened to Sandra. But yeah, even pre-merge when it's like Russell and Boston Rob sitting there, and Boston Rob's like, who do you want to vote off? And Russell's like, one of them, pointing to Courtney and Sandra as they're doing each other's hair. Boston Rob's like, is that how you play the game, Russell?
What is wrong with you?
Yeah, what is wrong with you? It's just like Russell's just so arrogant. He thought he won. He thought he was playing with house money.
He did.
But the house money JT had, Russell thought he had that house money too. He did not.
Yeah.
He did not.
Yeah. I think that Sandra, I love Sandra's game here. I think that her Heroes Villains game is a better game than her Pearl Islands game. And here's my reason. Yeah, here's my reason why.
Okay.
She's willing to let the egos be egos. She's just willing to do it. She's coming in as one of the few winners. And this is Sandra's biggest downfall. Like in Game Changer, she gets too cocky. Just play the same game and Sandra's sitting at Final 6 again. Like, there's no doubt. She gets so cocky, she wants to be driving everything. I love her game here because early on, she knows that if she sticks her head up, she's going to get caught. Like, somebody's going to do something. She aligns with Rob because she likes Rob. Her and Rob are old school era players. She gets in with who she has to get in with. And as soon as that alliance starts to break down, the moment that Tyson goes home, Sandra says, oh shit, what do I do? I'm going to stay somewhat loyal. I'm not going to kiss ass, but I'm going to be Sandra, which is what is going to make people want to keep me around. Ultimately, they keep her around over Courtney. And because, they're a little bit more worried about Courtney potentially teaming up with some of these other people from China. And, they didn't, I guess James was gone, but still. The whole thing is, though, Sandra's willing to just be Sandra and let the people who are fighting each other fight. And then she hits the merge and she says, heroes, here's what's going on. This is every detail you need to know. And the heroes are morons. And she's like, I tried, not my problem anymore. I'm going over here. And she does such a great job of just saying, Survivor isn't about the flashiness. Like you just said with Natalie White, it's not about the flashy stuff. You don't get votes from idols and all of these crazy things. You get votes from people who like you at the end. And people can talk about Parv playing a better game. They can talk about Russell playing a better game. Sandra plays the best game on this season because she's the one who knows what this jury wants. She's the one who knows what all of these people want. And what they wanted was they wanted to feel a little bit better than you. And Sandra just let everybody's ego keep on being egos. And she sat back and she just let herself get there. And she kept saying, yeah, I can't win. I can't win. I can't win. And we'd never seen before this season, we had never seen a winner of Survivor make the merge on a returning player season. Now, granted, we only had All-Stars and then Micronesia didn't have it. But then you watch this season. JT makes the merge, the first person out at the merge. Sandra gets all the way to the end. And I know Parvati gets there with her. But Sandra was able to beat Parvati, who was probably more revered coming into the season because of the social game that she was able to play. And I respect the hell out of it. Just stay in the lane you need to stay in to win Survivor.
So I know a lot of people argue Parvati should have won, or I wish Parvati had won. I guess I don't know how many people think this way, but I wish Jerry had won. Jerry Manthe. Yeah. That was the person I was like, when she went, I was like, dang, I wanted Jerry to win. Like when I watched the season, I was already spoiled, and that was because of Game Changers, by the way. Because I know I've talked about this before, where I watched 1 through 14, then missed up through 32, and I started with 32. Well, I didn't go back and binge the seasons till after Game Changers, like binge back through all the seasons I'd missed. So I watched Game Changers, and I saw Tony was a winner, but I was like, remember in my mind, all I saw was Tony in Game Changers. I'm like, this guy won. So like, I didn't even register when I watched Kai Gaon that was the winner. Because I'm like, who's this nut job on Game Changers? Yeah. But then I watched, that's where she said I was a 2-time winner. I only knew her as a 1-time winner. So when she said 2-time winner, and I saw her in Heroes vs. Villains, I'm like, oh, she must win the season. But even then, I was still like, man, I wish Jerry had won. Narratively, that's what I wanted, was Jerry to win. But Sandra, I think she totally earned the win. Parvati misread who she should bring in Final 3. That's really it. I do want to know, though, I think Jerry beats them all in Final 3. I don't think she loses to any of them. Maybe to Sandra, but I think she beats Parvati. Of course, she beats Russell. Who doesn't beat Russell, really?
Here's the thing. This jury didn't really care all that much about gameplay.
Yeah.
That's
I think
fact.
Jerry gets votes from Colby.
She wins.
Rupert. Right. I think the jury, I don't know.
Rupert votes Sandra no matter
Oh,
what. But if you're saying it's Parvati, Russell, and Jerry, I think Jerry beats Parv.
They cut Sandra. They're like, Sandra, well, also Parvati won. Sandra, you won, but Parvati won too. Winners, apparently they weren't too concerned about bringing winners to the end, obviously.
Well, Russell's whole plan was if he got to the end with 3 winners, he thought he would win. He thought that was the only chance he had to win because they wouldn't want a 2-time winner. And he totally misread that situation.
And he thought he was a winner.
Yeah. So that was his strategy. And everybody's like, well, Sandra wanted to get rid of Russell and wasn't able to do it. Who cares? Like, who cares? Like, and I think that's the thing with Survivor. If you want to be a great Survivor player, you need to be willing to not be in control at all times. You need to be willing to throw out plans to people and have them shoot the plan down and say, okay, well, I'm still going to survive anyway. Because
Coach and Colby, I think both vote for Jerry. Sorry, I'm looking at the jury.
No, you're fine.
I think those two for sure vote for her.
But with Boston Rob, right? Boston Rob plays one style of Survivor. He needs to be in control at all times. He can't turn that off. That's why he's won 1 time and he's had a lot of really bad finishes. Sandra's okay not being in control. That's why she succeeds.
Yeah.
And that's why she ultimately ends up winning twice. And for her to come out and win and sit next to Parvati and beat Parvati. First of all, I know I was ragging on her a little bit for Micro. This is the most overrated game maybe in the history of the show. People talk about Parvati's game in Heroes vs. Villains like it's the best thing of all time. Nobody wants to acknowledge that without Russell, Parvati goes home when Tyson goes home. And if Russell doesn't pull off what he did with Tyson and then he plays the idol for Parvati, Russell goes home there and Parvati's not far behind. Like Parvati was done.
Yeah. Parvati plays a more flashy Natalie White game then. If you want to look at it that way, she needed the bowl in the China shop, except she's not as passive as Natalie.
Well, she was more willing. And then what I always love is the people who don't like to talk about, oh, well, Mike Holloway wasn't that good because he needed immunity wins at the end. So did Parvati. Like when people started to say, hey, we wanted to vote Parvati out of the game, Parvati won a whole bunch of immunities. She won 2 of the last 3, 3 of the last 5 overall. And so like when you started to realize you wanted to vote Parvati out, it was like, oh, well, we can't because Parvati is safe. Parvati has the necklace on and they start talking about voting her out at 6 and whatever. Parvati needs Russell here. And people want to say, oh, she should have won. Parvati should have been out so early. And the people who hate Russell and love Parvati, you can't say Parvati should have won this season and not give Russell credit as well, because Russell is the reason that Tyson goes home and the reason that Parvati and Russell both stay in the game. I think Sandra's game, she needs the net or whatever. She gets the idol from Parvati at Final 10, all of that. I'm not saying she doesn't get this stuff. Jerry ultimately is the one who's safe. Parvati makes that move to give the villains the edge for the rest of the season. But again, Sandra's game, she's so good socially that she can sit there and not be in control and not make these flashy moves and still beat those people.
I think you're kind of ragging on Parvati a lot because of fan reception. I think Parvati's game here is really good. And I think it's one of the most impressive second place games. You know, like I'm not going to be like, oh, Jonathan Young at 50 played a better game than Parvati.
No,
I'm not going to be like Sophie B at 49, going through all the previous second place players. I'm like, no, Parvati's got to be a top 5 second place game.
Oh, for sure. But here's
if not the problem. But I don't think she's a top game. Should have won over Sandra though either. Yeah. I'm not going to argue that. Yeah. I think her against Russell and Danielle, which I think is what she was planning on doing, she wins. Right? Like that plan fell through because of Russell being an insane person. Mm-hmm. But her against Danielle and Russell, she wins, and that was her plan. I think, and it just fell apart. Because this is not the Black Widow Brigade. This is Russell Hantz, and he does what he wants to do.
Yeah. Convincing Jerry to vote out Danielle, Russell, and Jerry. That was just like psycho stuff. Absolutely crazy. Yeah. You start to get hope that Rupert and Colby are actually going to figure it out. But yeah, it is a lot of the fan reception because, again, like I went through this all with Australian Survivor where I would talk about how I didn't think Parvati's game there was impressive and people call you all kinds of names. And like, you know, you get misogynist thrown in there a couple times and you're like, dude, like, it's not misogyny. It's literally just I don't think that this game is that impressive. And so when you start getting that, I have to go back. I feel like I'm always fighting against Parvati stands every time I talk about Parvati. But I think that Parvati's game here is really good. Like I agree with you. Top 5 second place game for sure. But when people walk around saying it's the best game of all time, you're psychos. That's not true. That's not real.
No, best game of all time has to be JT.
Probably.
I mean, statistically, best game. I don't know. Winners of War Tony, though. Is pretty dang.
What you always get to here is, and I wonder what you think about this. You always get the people who say, well, now everybody says if they would have seen the season, they would have voted for Parvati to win over Sandra.
Nah,
Doesn't matter. Exactly. Thank you.
I don't buy that. I think Fishback said it, and I'll always give him the quote of, "But what post-game press doesn't matter." It's like what people say after, like that doesn't matter. That's not canon. Like what people said afterwards does not count. I will give more credit to when you watch the Ponderosa videos or like people's final words uncut, like the extended, like when they say there, I'll take that. It's not maybe it's not canon, but I'll take that like with realness. Like that's really what people thought before they knew how the show was going to portray everybody and convey the story. That stuff to me matters. What people say in exit interviews to me is almost like, unless you're going to say something interesting, I don't care about exit interviews.
I really
tell me something I don't already know, or be salty. That's just me enjoying people being salty. Like Ozzy was salty about Rizzo after 50, for example. But like otherwise, I don't exit interviews to me. Like I don't care what you think should have like what I saw and what you're telling me. Like if it doesn't line up, okay, well I'm gonna believe the show over you because I think you've had time to think about things. And what you're telling is the truth, or it's your perspective. You know, the show, while it has its own story to tell, it's going to give me more perspectives than just yours. Though I will say there is sometimes people say stuff in exit interviews and you're like, oh, is that the truth? Like I remember Jenna on 50 was like, actually Christian dropped Cerie's name first, not mine. I'm like, that's new. That's interesting. Yeah. That doesn't sound, and like she's very adamant about it. I'm like, I didn't hear anybody say it wasn't true, you know? So anyways, X interviews to me are just like I don't like, I would have voted for X. Okay. Well, you didn't. So,
well, and also like if you're out there on the island, the whole point is to convince the people you're on the island with to vote for you, not vote for an edited version of you. Like if I'm around you 24/7 and I don't like you, that doesn't mean that I watch an hour of you every week and I'm like, oh shit, Wes was great. Like, but if I'm around you 24/7 and I don't like you, I don't like you. Like that's just how it is. That's why Russell doesn't win Survivor. And I think like for Sandra to sit next to Parvati and Russell, and I know Russell, he's going in there just getting smoked, but to sit next to Parvati and Russell and win it as a former winner and like get to crown herself, I mean, it's pretty incredible. And you know, the person who said earlier with like, what about with playing with friends and all that? It's like Parvati has Amanda on the jury and Amanda votes for Sandra.
Yeah, I think Parvati and Amanda had a falling out in between Micronesia and Heroes versus Villains because on that season they were not in sync at all. Like what I know it was edited. I mean, it's always edited, but it just never, they couldn't even if they wanted to make these two look like they were ever on the same page. Whereas Cirie clearly, even though Cirie went out earlier, Cirie didn't seem like she was at odds with people. Whereas Amanda and Parvati, clearly something had happened. They were at odds. Where do you think Sandra falls? Heroes versus Villain Sandra on the rankings out of 50.
Based on your big reaction to me thinking this is a better game, I'm going to say like 26.
Well, remember these rankings are not mine; these are the fans.
I know,
but
I
you're very
like
close.
Look at it.
Phil, 25. 25 is her ranking. And then her Pearl Islands ranking for reference is 17. I don't think the fans are always right when it comes in terms of my own personal opinions when it comes to the rankings, but I do agree with them that Pearl Islands is more impressive than Heroes vs. Villains. I think it's partially because I like her more as a character on Pearl Islands, but also that's because there's more Sandra, in my opinion, on Pearl Islands than there is on
that's
Heroes
also
vs.
true.
Villains. Her burning Russell's hat, though, like her post-merge stuff is all interesting, but on Pearl Islands, she's interesting from the episode, and anytime they show her, like every time they show Sandra, I'm interested in Sandra on Pearl Islands, and they just don't do it enough on Heroes Villains. And of course, the season, where do you think it's ranked?
1.
Yeah, no, 1. It's they put this season on Netflix for a reason when they introduced Survivor on Netflix, along with, I think, gosh, what season they put it with? Was Micronesia? I forget what other season they put it with.
I forget. Where do you rank it personally?
In a standard definition season, I want to say it was Micronesia, but I could be wrong.
It might be China. Where do you rank it? I think
it was China. Heroes vs. Villains is number 1, and I think the reason they won't, unless you mean her win, I would probably, I mean, it's
I'm talking about the season. Right. I know you're already
the season is definitely number 1. I think the reason they won't do a Heroes vs. Villains 2 is because they know that it will be compared to the first one, and they cannot live up to the first one.
Yeah,
I think that's why they'll do a brains versus bronze versus beauty. Like they'll do 2 of those. They'll do 2 blood versus waters, and I think they did 2 fans versus favorites. I think they're willing to do a third one. I think all 3 of those could have a third one. I think the show would be fine. but I think the show knows they can't do a second Heroes Villains. Number one, they don't cast villains, not on purpose, it seems like, but they just know it will never live up to the first one. The first one's just too worked out. It would, and the first one in this season, there's so many like layers to the onion, Phil, where it's like, man, there are storylines in the season that are paying off previous seasons, which you don't always get with these returning seasons. Like, if it like a little bit, it'll be like, oh, I get why we're here because of a past season and other seasons, but this season feels like a lot of payoff to other seasons and the storylines. It's like, oh my gosh, like every time I watch it, there's like a new layer and it's like, I wish this season had longer episodes. The premiere being 2 hours was so nice. I almost wish like the merge had been 2 hours. You know, I wish there had just been more content in other episodes as well. And I can't find the secret scenes for this season ever. They're not on the DVD. I don't know why. This season's like the only one without secret scenes on it. I don't get it.
That's weird.
I'm baffled, right? And I can't. And people will reference a secret scene. I'm like, where did you see this? And they're like, I don't remember. And I'm like, I would love to see that. Where are they at? Paramount Plus, where are they at? That's why I want to know.
I mean, yeah, Heroes Villains I have ranked 2, only behind China, just because I love China. But like, there's never going to be a better cast in reality TV history than the Heroes vs. Villains cast. It's the best. Like you said, the payoffs are crazy. And the fact that Sandra says, I'm going to vote you out again, and your stupid ass is still going to vote for me to win.
Oh, she didn't call Rupert stupid, but she definitely was implying that.
Whatever she said. And then Rupert turns around and votes for her to win.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible.
Yes. It was a great balance. I think it's fun that the villains had won. Like, it would have been cool if a hero had won, but I think it actually makes the season more iconic because the villain won. Whereas David versus Goliath, I think it's only narratively satisfying for David to win this season. It works either way, but I think it's more fun that a villain won, you know? And the fact that this season saw so many heroes going villain and villains going heroes, and then some people just didn't. Sandra did not change. Sandra was exactly the same.
That's exactly it.
You know? Yeah. Some people wanted to be heroes that were villains. Some people wanted to be villains that were heroes. Not this season. Sandra, season 28 and 37 were on Netflix. Someone says that was later. So like the first time they put seasons on Netflix, it was 20 and it was 28. It was Kai Gayan and Heroes Villains was the first time. And then they did Dave vs. Goliath and Micronesia. And I don't know if they did a third round on Netflix, but yeah, I just remember this season got a lot of.
Oh, Wrong was on there for a bit.
Co-Wrong was also, maybe the third round was Co-Wrong in another season. Pearl Islands, I bet, was probably with Co-Wrong if I remember right. So anyways, yes, Sandra's win. I think she had a good final tribal, but it was a lot of, well, you dummies, I told you Russell was Russell and you didn't listen. They're like, dang, Sandra, you're right. I'm going to vote for you to win. Like, that's really how it went. Like, if only we had listened to Sandra, we didn't. So now we're going to vote for her to win. That's social game. People like being around Sandra and talking to her, being her friend.
And people were more willing to say, you know what, Sandra, you got the better of me and you were right, than they were for Parvati or Russell. That's it.
Daryl says no newbie season past 37 is as good as 37. Agreed, but 46 is the closest.
46 and 47, I think, are great.
A lot of people like 47 as well. I personally think 46 is better than it has any right to be, and it's all because of the cast. It's always.
I haven't rewatched that one since it aired, and I'm curious how I'll feel like when we get there in our watch. We just
I rewatched it, Phil. It holds up. Sorry to cut you off, but it holds up. It holds up. It's a little better once you know that you know for a fact Bonu's going episode 4, because that's really what drove me mad. Those first 4 episodes, like, man, like Randon goes and Bonu's still here, you know, in episode 3. But
same episode twice.
Knowing that he goes at 4, and then in the back of my mind, knowing that Jeff gets mad at all the fans for not liking Bonu, but then won't bring Bonnie back to 50, you know, whatever. All right, yes, yeah, I'm the problem. Yeah, that's right. Anyways, but once Bonu's gone, I mean, the season's fantastic. It's funny. The Jelinski episode, the whole premiere is funny. So it's just episode 2 that drags a lot, and episode 3 I don't really like.
The Jess boot is brutal. The Jess boot and the watching Bonu twice is bad. And
for some reason, they made episode 2 hours. I don't know why, but they did. And that was
make it suffer.
So episode 2. But anyways, so Heroes vs. Villains, I just can't see a returning season topping this, especially at the rate we're going. Every season's just competing for second best returning season. Heroes Villains can't be topped, even if they did a second one. It just won't happen.
I mean, if you think about all of the returning player seasons, All Stars, like I'm talking full All Stars, Heroes vs. Villains, Game Changers 40 and 50.
Yeah.
None of them are even close to this season. Like they're not even remotely close.
Full returning season, I think. If I double check my rankings real quick, I think Cambodia is the closest. Yeah, Cambodia.
Cambodia
so full returning season, not half full. Cambodia is the closest. Gets number 5 in the rankings. Interesting.
Yeah, yes. I like Cambodia. I don't put it quite that high, and I think the gap between heroes versus villains in Cambodia is massive.
Winners at Wars ranked 7th.
That's just your fans being crazy.
But then I actually agree. I think Winners at War top 15 for me. I don't know if it's top 10, but top 15. But then after that, it takes a bit to get to another full returnee season. 50 falls currently at 19. We'll see how recency bias.
That'll go away in like five seasons for sure.
It usually takes the fans, I think, 1 year. So right after Kyle's win, or after Jam Jam's win, I think they were ranked way higher, and then the next year they fell into a more appropriate spot. Not that Kyle's win was bad, it's just like the recency bias is there for Aubrey and 50 right now. Give it another year, I think they'll be ranked more fairly, but yeah, that's just the way it is. Fair whether it's bad or good, because Aubrey, I think, has got knocked more than she deserves, and 50 get propped up maybe a little bit more and deserves. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm noticing that in our winner rankings too. Aubrey's a lot lower than I think she's ultimately going to be when we look back on this.
Yeah, give us some time. Let people cool off. I remember people commenting saying, I need time to cool off before I fill out this form because I'm just like so heated one way or the other about 50. And it's like, fair. Don't do, if you need to cool off. So Sandra, though, I think she has a good win, but really it does come down to the show isn't interested in her telling her story. And then when it is, it's like halfway through the season and she's the same person. She's the exact same person as Pearl Islands. You said she changed in Game Changers because you're right. She's high off her own supply. At that point, she's playing with house money, not this season. When people play with house money, they play more entertaining, but it's not better. It's never a better game. It's just a more entertaining game. So Boston Robin Winners the War, playing with house money, not playing a better game, just like being a caricature of himself, basically. Sandra's become a caricature of herself on Game Changers, on Winners at War, though she's still herself, but definitely like amped up. On Blood versus Water, Australian Survivor, it's the exact same Sandra as you saw on Game Changers and Winners at War. So Sandra this season is surprisingly exactly the same as Pearl Islands. Almost like Pearl Islands never happened. That's how she acts. It's almost like that season nobody remembers it, or nobody remembers she won.
She's an afterthought. She's not even in the top center. We talk about that on the DVD box. She's not even in the top center. She's an afterthought.
But it's important to remember that when 20 aired, there was not an easy way to go back and watch all these seasons. Here, Pearl Islands was one of the seasons they put on DVD, but like I remember people did not buy the DVDs because they're like, I already know who won. Why would I watch the show again? Why would I buy the DVD again? That was not a thing in 2009, 2010 to rewatch Survivor. It just wasn't a thing. Like Rob, the podcast started with Heroes versus Villains, but like there wasn't a thing to podcast about the show, like this was all new. Like the only thing you had was like the Dalton Ross article after the episode ended. That's it. Like there was no like content media to consume about the show. There's no CBS Next Morning interviews anymore. We talked about those dropped after Fiji. Yeah, I mean, it just wasn't. Different times. So Sandra was basically forgotten. And
that's the last thing I'll say is like when Sandra's name popped up on that cast, everybody's like, what? Really?
Yeah.
Wasn't expecting Sandra to be popping
This season did not treat winners like they put 2 winners on each tribe, but it wasn't really thought about like that.
No.
Like All Stars was unfair with the way they split.
Yeah, it wasn't the storyline of the season.
Yeah, this season it was fair, but like nobody really thought about it. I know Tom and JT were like, we're winners, we should work together, but like I don't know if that was a major factor. JT went because he was dumb.
Yeah.
Tom might have gone because he was Tom, because he's a winner. Like
Tom had his back against the wall from the start because he was a winner and because he was of a different era. Yeah. But Tom almost survived that. And if they get rid of if they get rid of James instead of Tom ends up being in the final 6 of this season for sure.
Yeah, they really did pick the broken James over Tom. That just says a lot about
that was the end of everything.
Yeah. Also, I gotta say, I know this is not really super relevant to Sandra, but Candace going full Judas on her tribe and flipping to Russell, and then Russell turning around and voting her out immediately, while not good for his game, was very entertaining to watch because she got Rupert and Colby to like, let's actually play the game. They're like, just to get out Candace. Like they were motivated just purely to get out Candace. And
when
like
they have that conversation of like, yeah, like let's just do that. This is great.
If they're splitting votes, why don't we just vote for Candace?
Yeah. It's fantastic. I totally agree.
It's so fun to see them like finally like get Survivor for one episode. Like Colby, I think knew how to play, he just didn't care. But Rupert like never got it. And Rupert got it for one episode, and it was fun to watch. So Candace going just like flipping on them, but that was her MO. She did that on Cook Islands like multiple times. And it's like it's not surprising. Like as Sandra's like, Candace, if you ruin this, I'm gonna be upset with you, or whatever she said. Candace like, why would I ruin it? Why? That was when Sandra was trying to get them to flip on the villains, and Candace ruins it. And Sandra's like, well, I can't vote the heroes now because Candace has ruined it. Candace is ruining everything. But
and that's again where like I give Sandra a little bit. I give her a little bit more credit because it's like Sandra was coming up with the right ideas. It's like how I feel about Michelle and Winners at War, coming up with the right ideas. Not her fault. Nobody's listening. Yeah.
Sandra had a solid plan. Like, I don't know how things would have panned out had Sandra's plan actually worked, though. I don't know if Sandra wins the season. Because at that point, JT had gone. Was Amanda gone at that point? I think she was, or is that the vote where Amanda
went?
Flips?
The whole
Candace flips and Amanda goes, I think.
Wasn't the whole point? Yeah, that she was going to work with, because JT was gone, and then Sandra was going to defect and go with the heroes and make it 5-4. And then Candace wouldn't do it, and Amanda goes. That's what happens.
Right. Yeah. Amanda goes, and it should have been, I think Russell, I don't know who they vote for. They voted for Parvati. So Parvati maybe would have gone, had like Candace defects. Yep. So Sandra's like, I'm not voting with the heroes because they can't get their act together. But shoot, dude, like that whole thing with Candace, and Russell's like, shows her the idol. Russell's like, Candace, you're in my final three. Immediately gone. Immediately gone.
And I love this comment from Daryl. If things go Sandra's way, she loses. Yeah, but she's Sandra the whole time.
Yeah.
And making those offers to the people was enough for them to say, damn, we really like Sandra. Let's vote for her to win.
Yeah. If only we listened to Sandra, we could have won. That's important. The jury wants to vote for somebody who will represent their season that they like, that they see themselves in, and they saw themselves in Sandra. They like Sandra. They wanted her to represent the season. Like, these are all factors. Like, when people voted for Natalie over Russell, they didn't want the jerk Russell, the representative of the season. They'd rather pick the nice girl and Natalie. That's why Eric was like, why does it matter? You know, why is what Natalie did less impressive than Russell? Like, I like Natalie. I'd rather her represent the season.
Yeah.
So,
all right, Wes. Well, we're done, right? We're good.
Well, if we went by Survivor's original schedule, this would be the end of the show. Jeff thought 20 was the end. He thought they would get renewed through 20, and that was it. This was the conclusion to the show. So,
based on how the show goes next, it's about right that he wasn't thinking past 20.
Well, next time on the podcast, next time on Survivor, Jeff becomes executive producer, and the show enters its dark ages. Correlation is not causation or whatever, but
it might be here.
Things seem to align that I don't want to make accusations of, but things seem to align.
Yeah.
Jeff becomes executive producer and the dark ages start. Just saying. Both things happen at the same time. May have been separate, but they both happened at the exact same time. So,
well, anyways, we're going to be speaking of things happening at the exact same time. Next Thursday, we do episode 5 of this, seasons 21 through 25. But next Tuesday, we finally put out our first winner ranking.
Yeah.
50 to 41. I already have it compiled. I just got to put together like a little PowerPoint or something so everybody can watch along with us and not just look at our faces. We are ready to dissect it, though, and talk about it. And I'm the only one who knows the list. I haven't told anybody else. So I'm not even telling Will and Blake. I'm going to let them go in totally blind. If you want to become a patron, patreon.com/thespecialist. We're in the middle of Millennials versus Gen X right now. Next episode comes out on Monday. We did the theme today. That's what we talked about for the top tier patrons. So think about becoming a patron, patreon.com/specialist. Wes, what do you want to plug before?
I was going to ask, are you going episode by episode through Millennials versus Gen X? Or are you doing like whole sections? How are you guys covering that season?
So the way that we do it for Every Season Matters is it is 8 episodes for every season. So 2 a week, 1 on Monday, 1 on Thursday. And we normally do like one about the cast, one about most underrated cast member, theme, gameplay, winner, legacy of the season. We kind of mix it up. We're doing twists on Monday. So
okay, twists, gotcha. Coming up on my channel, I have some good videos. Do I know what they are off the top of my head? I don't. Don't know off the top of my head. The thing is, I make videos so many months in advance that like I have a release schedule written out. And so the video it's releasing like tomorrow on YouTube, for example, is a video I made months ago. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but I'm sure it's a good one because I took days of my life to make it. You know what I mean? I put time and effort in. Just don't remember which one I put.
You all know it's good because Wes made it. All right, there you go.
I have a video, Phil. This is on my Patreon for free for everybody that I made back in 2025, like May 2025. I have not released yet. It's not because it's bad. I'm just waiting for the right time. Some of these videos just timing.
Yeah.
It's like I made it. It's not like relevant to the season that came out. So it's like I can release this whenever. So join my Patreon as well. Free members, there are some videos for free, but like I would say 90% of it, you gotta be a paid patron. But yeah, like 10% of the videos are free for everybody. So
well, if you want to
anyways,
if you want to see, that's why we do stuff live, because then we don't ever put stuff out that's in the past. It's like, hey, we did this now, and I thought about it.
No, you're not hanging on anything from last year. What?
I'm not thinking. About
you don't have anything from last
this.
year. You're hanging out.
Although the Patreon, I kind of do that. I have my little calendar that I hold right here.
Yeah.
And on this calendar, it's like this is everything we have to do for Patreon.
Yeah.
And once I check it off and cross it off, I don't remember what the hell we talked about. So that's it. All right, everybody. Well, thank you all so much for listening. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you're only around for this series, we'll see you next Thursday. If you're around and you want to see us rank winners starting next Tuesday, we'll see you then. Probably around 10 p.m. Eastern time. Bye, everybody.